Wakefield, Vice Chair for the Kinley Town Council, calling this special town council meeting to order. It is 7 p.m. All councilors are here except for Mr. Gambatista, who is absent with notification, and Mr. Anderson is attempting to get here due to car trouble. Hopefully, he said he hopes to be able to make it at some point in time. So we'll get going with the interviews. The first interview.
Madam Chair,
oh.
I'd like to add a name to the interview list.
Okay.
I'd like to add John LaBelle as an interview candidate for WPCA.
Unfortunately, it being a special meeting, you're not allowed to add items to the agenda. We could potentially have an item added, we would have an additional, you could do an interview at a subsequent meeting, but you can't add items to your special meeting.
Okay.
So it would have to be done at another meeting.
I don't know if it was, the items are here, but.
No, yeah, you
Yeah,
can't
all right,
add
just-
anything, yeah.
Okay, you can't add anything.
No, unfortunately, you can't. So
That's where,
he can, more than welcome to submit the application process, and we can have Ashley get him scheduled for a subsequent interview date.
Okay,
All right, is that it?
that's it.
All right. So the first interview up under 3A is Robert Mullen for reappointment to Conservation Commission. Good evening.
Good evening.
So why don't you tell us why you're interested in continuing to work with the Conservation Commission and what you guys have been doing?
Okay, well, I've been on the commission for the last couple of years. I enjoy the outdoors. I've been a surveyor for 50 years before retirement, so I know the woods and some trails and things and about that. And as I say, I'm interested in keeping some passive recreation space for the town. I think that's important for all members. And I have attended and helped out at many of the booths and tables and presentations at the various functions that the town has for town meeting, or not meetings, but outside events.
Yeah, the different functions and that. I've seen you out there. That's definitely one of our more active commissions, so. Any counselors with any questions? Mr.
Well,
Grandelski?
he's engaged at every meeting, you know, as all the other members are. I've never seen a commission that, and it's always positive. There's very little negativity with the Conservation Commission, you know. Every time they come here, everybody wants to know what, you know, what's going on, where the walks are gonna be, if there's gonna be another bus tour, and everybody's supportive in that regard. Trying to keep the trails going, we always bring it forward, you know, have to talk to Mary to get that from the highway department to do work on some of the trails and which not. So, I mean, we gotta be careful what that schedule is too, but, so they're out there keeping track of things, and, they're engaged, he's engaged, like the rest of the folks. So I appreciate his participation in this volunteerism.
Any other
Thank you.
counselors? Is there anything that we could do that you feel that the town council could possibly help the Conservation Commission with?
Sure, if I thought about it for a while, I could come up with a list. I know budget season's coming up, so there could be a little help there that we could be able to do some more projects if we have enough money to do them, so.
Well, we will definitely keep that in mind. Thank you so much. We will, oh,
Are there any specific projects you have in mind that more monetary support would help with?
Um,
Is there anything in the pipeline?
Well, I know we're doing work at Chase Reservoir, and there are some trails that trees have been taken down and going, obstructing the trails and whatnot, and that may be something that the town can help out with, the Works Department. But like I said, we've talked about this a couple of times, and we do a pretty good job of doing what we do with the minimum amount of money. So I think we've done pretty good as far as that goes. But when we do bus tours and whatnot, you know, we have advertising expenses and other expenses that are
So
For the-
basically expand on the good work that you guys are already doing.
I beg your pardon?
So basically you would expand on the good work that you guys are already doing.
Yes.
Thank you.
Anybody else? If seeing nothing else, we will decide on your reappointment next week. You can attend, you can watch,
Very good. Thank
but
you.
you will get a letter one way or the other. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next one up is Jean Montford.
Thank you for having me follow behind Bob.
So why don't you tell us a little bit why you're interested in staying on conservation and some of the cool things that you guys have been doing?
Well, like Bob was saying earlier, it's an amazing group of people that have come together, a bunch of volunteers that just have a lot of the same criteria in mind, and we all want to do. Our main objective is just make the town of Killenly the best it can be. So we're trying to make up the trails that will bring in people from different states. We're just trying to, like, we're working on our logo right now. We're redoing our logo. We're working on our brochures, making them better, and we're trying to make it so when people go to the trails, they'll be easier to be able to take the trails and enjoy themselves. It's just a great group of people that just come together. We just have a great time while we're at our meetings.
Okay. Anybody with any questions for Jean? Oh, Ms. Brunelsky?
Again, Jean's chair of the Conservation Commission now, and she's put a lot of time in, and, you know, like I say, again, all of them, they really volunteer over and above what is going on. It's always a very positive scenario. Like you say, looking at the bus tours, they're trying to expand on that. There are the trails that they go out on. They do visit the properties. Various members visit various, you know, properties and whatnot. Like Chase Reservoir, we got the logging operation going on over there right now, so that's a little bit, whatever the logging guy does, and hopefully that'll get cleaned up. That's been a long time in the making, and so get that going. And but like I said, Jane and the rest, they do a real good job, and they are engaged. You know, they from whatever. So I appreciate that.
Thank you,
Thank
Ed.
you.
Yep.
Hi, Jean.
So,
How are you?
all right.
So about how many people would you say attended for October? Because I know that's a big event every year.
All the trails that we did, because we did quite a few trails.
Right.
Some of them we had 15 people, sometimes we had like 20-something, so it varied,
So every year it grows though, right?
yes.
Yeah.
Thanks to Last Green Valley and the way they advertise it, we get a lot of attractions, but also when we put it in the Turnpike Buyer, we've actually had people say that they've noticed it that way. And also Donna will send it out on her email, so there's like different ways that people find out about it, so, yeah.
So thank you for all you guys do.
Anybody else with any questions for Jean? So as chair, do you have anything specific that the town council could help you with?
No, I think we're good. I mean, if we need something, we'll let our town liaison know, and she'll get it back to you guys, so she's
Okay.
really good with us, so we're really lucky to have Allison.
Allison is pretty incredible.
Yeah.
All right, well, if nothing else from anybody else, we will make a decision on your reappointment next week.
Okay.
You can attend, you can watch.
Well, we'll be
or-
here because we're doing an award, so.
Oh, that's right, too. I forgot. All right, well, thank you so much for everything you do.
Thank you.
All right, 3C, a Jacob Portella, appointment to the Water Pollution Authority. Good evening.
Good evening.
Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're interested in being on WPCA?
Yeah, I live down the road from the sewer plant. I've lived there a few years now. I walk the trail all the time. Always been an interesting kind of place, and to see if there's any way to improve it or in the town or whatever. Yeah.
Okay. Any counselors? Michelle?
What do you do for a living?
I'm a construction manager.
Anybody? Mr. Grindowski, did I see you flinch?
Yeah, well, I wanted to get in. So, you were looking at WPCA versus, what gave you the impetus to go to WPCA versus any other board or commission? Given that you live close by, the order could be a little bit of a problem, but, is that a
mean-
reminder every day? I don't know.
Definitely get that friendly reminder every day, but just had more vacancy than some of the other ones, and I don't know. I don't have much of a good answer on that.
Have you, in your construction management work, have you ever worked on any sewer plants or anything of that nature?
I have worked on one sewer plant. It was in Massachusetts.
Was that a good experience, or?
It was a good experience. It was a good experience. It
Okay.
wasn't bad.
All right.
It was a good one.
Anybody else with any questions? Oh, Michelle?
So, what was the plant in Mass? I'm just curious.
It was a sewer plant just near Worcester. I forget the name of it. It was like 5-6 years ago at this point.
What
but-
did they have you doing in that? That's interesting.
So I was a superintendent, basically just managing the construction activities. Everything from, it was a ground up new facility, so it was
Well,
basically
that's great.
everything from the ground
Oh,
to
that's
finish.
wonderful. And to have you know what you're walking into, right?
Mhm,
That we're in
exactly.
a big mess. Thank you. Thank you for coming out, especially if you have that experience. That'll be very helpful.
Definitely, you're welcome.
All right, anybody else with any other questions? Well, it's always, I know this is gonna sound kind of, don't take this the wrong way, but it's always good to see somebody that's younger. You don't seem quite as old as the rest of us here. But I always enjoy watching the next generation of citizens coming forward to volunteer, because that's what keeps our town going, so.
Yeah, I agree.
I appreciate your being willing to put yourself on the line like that, and, yeah, it's gonna be an interesting few years at our water treatment plant, but, I will agree with you that, it is a very interesting plant, having walked it and several times now in the last year. It's a very interesting process, the whole science behind it. so.
Definitely.
All right, well,
Thank
we
you.
will vote on your appointment next week. You can attend, you can watch, or you will definitely get a letter one way
All
or
right,
the other.
thank you.
All right, 3D is a Tara Quintanilla.
You almost nailed it.
Almost,
So close. Hello.
so, I think I noticed that you're on one of our, what was it? Cottage Streets, yes, so that's one of our, has some of the older homes in town, definitely.
Yeah.
So, why don't you tell us why you're interested in Historic District?
So since I've been very young, I've had an unusual interest in historic properties, architecture. I grew up in a mill town very similar to Killingly. I was fortunate enough to live in the home of the man who had owned the factory of my town. It was apartments, so we didn't own it, but I lived on the second floor. It was, I mean, I was just in awe of where I lived growing up. I knew it was something different. It was special. I had friends who had these nice brand new homes and they lived on these nice little cul-de-sacs, and I knew that what I was in was even more special, you know?
Oh, yeah.
So moving here 2.5 years ago, I did move to Cottage and Broad Street area. I knew I was in the historic district. I did know it's a little different than the historic district of my town growing up. I definitely feel like it deserves a lot of love and attention to the area. It has a rich history. The entire town itself does. And I feel like we're in the midst of a revival for the town, and the history of it is important. And I am of a certain age, but I like to think that I'm not. This might be the most grown-up thing I've ever done. No. I was back there, I texted my husband, I'm like, I think I'm in court. I don't know what to I'm nervous. There's a cop, I don't know. I definitely am very excited in what's happening with the town, the vision committee, the holiday events, and I feel like the historic commission has a part in all of that. I feel like, you know, the Halloween walk that they did, the history is rich here, and I would like to help bring that to people my age and younger. I have children who are history buffs. My younger children know the history of Broad Street. It's interesting, and I think a lot of people don't think I'm just going to go into the historical society on my day off and browse around.
Oh, that's a fabulous place to hang out.
But it's like a museum, you know, so I feel like I'm good with promotion and social media, and I feel like, you know, the Historical Commission deserves, you know, some love and attention, you know.
Well, thank you so much. Anybody with questions for Tara? I'm not going to attempt the last name.
This guy's got a question? You got a question?
Mr.
I like your
Grandelsky.
enthusiation.
Thank
It's
you.
really good. I mean, this is,
Thank
that's,
you.
you know, we would like to have you going in
Yeah,
really
thank you.
positive, and, you know, so I appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you.
very much for coming
Yeah,
forward.
absolutely, thank you.
I
Patty?
was gonna say the same thing, real
Okay.
quick, energy.
Yeah, thank you.
And I love how you want to preserve,
Right,
and, I mean, modern things are good too, but representing, like, we have such an old town.
yes, yep.
And there's so much to be proud of.
Right.
I love that somebody who's moved here,
Yeah.
2.5 years, you said?
Yeah.
Wants to embrace that, so.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate it, thank you.
Anybody with any other questions?
Oh, how did you come upon looking at the Historical Commission? What brought you forward?
So the home that I purchased, I knew when I bought it had some sort of historical background. The lady that was there before me, she didn't know much about it. I say you're either into this stuff or you're not. But there is a gray area of people who may be interested in it, but they don't know how to go about getting into it. So I started researching my house. I joined the Historical Society. The library here has, I don't know if a lot of people know, but they've digitalized all the records of the newspapers. So you can pop in your address and you'll get hits on, and my house, although it doesn't look like much of anything, has a very big background, like rich historical background. And with all the things going wrong with the house, it's made me feel a little better about it. No. I'm like, it's been blessed, so we're gonna be okay, you know? So, yeah, yep, just
good.
my interest has always been, you know, historical.
Anybody else with anything else? If not, since it wasn't quite court, you know, we'll get you
Yeah.
out a lot faster. But we'll decide on your appointment next week.
Okay.
You can attend, you can watch, but you
Okay.
will get a letter one way or the other.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, now it's time for the vision, people. Three, letter E is Paul Olean. Olean? I almost went with just the Olean.
No worries, you have to follow that act, which was very good. Good evening, everybody.
So why don't you, I think you received a list of questions that we had.
I did.
So I'll open it up to the counselors. Or do you want to start by
Well, I was
telling
going to
us
say, I
why?
can tell a little bit about
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah.
I've moved to town about 3.5 years ago. After being here for a little while, I kind of wish it was a lot longer than that. This has really, really been a very special place for us to live. I'm professionally, been in the construction industry for over 40 years. I started off as a plumber working with the tools. I'm all set with sewage treatment plants, if anybody's wondering. But I've run the gauntlet from working with the tools to running mechanical contracting firms, and I've just finished off part of a career. I was working as a chief estimator for a large construction management company. Volunteering that I've done in the past, I was on the planning board in the town of Rhode Island that I was living in at the time for about 3 years. I also was heavily involved with an after-school program for high school students, mentoring program for students who might be interested in the architectural, construction, engineering industries. And for 10 years, I've been involved with the Unified Sports Program for Special Olympics, which is guaranteed usually to be the best part of my week. But it's something that I've always enjoyed and I've maintained, playing with the athletes, et cetera, even though my body is saying stop. But the ibuprofen says keep going. So anyway, that's a little bit about me.
I didn't bring my question.
I know my question, my one question that got messed up.
Sure.
So, out of these 5 things, like, what would your passion be? Like, it kind of got confused the last time that the question was, which is more important, and it's really not that. I'm just looking for kind of, where does your heart sing? But I kind of already know where you're going to go with it. So out of
Okay.
like the youth, or the arts, or the elderly, or business, or conservation.
I can tell you, I know one thing, it'd probably be business. That's what I've been my whole
interesting.
career. But at the same time, no, conservation is right up there. I'm very impressed with the work that the Conservation Committee does and how they've maintained this town. This town is really, I've heard a lot of people talk about it's that mix between rural and suburbia, rural-burbia, if you will. It's, and conservation has an awful lot to do with that. However, I do believe that my passion lies with business, because a lot of times business can drive a tax base, and it can set the tone for a number of things in a town. If you have the storefront businesses, which can contribute to the character of a town, with the type of business that they are, with the way they present themselves. And at the same time, you have your industry, your infrastructure businesses, where can give people places to work. And, you have a VOTEC program, you have a ready-made, students coming out, and it can feed into that. So to me, the business part of it is probably what I know best. Conservation is probably what I like best, so.
So, whoops. Hello.
Hi.
So I don't have my questionnaire, so I'm kind of go off the cuff. So what are 3 things, so you've been here 3.5 years.
Yeah.
What are the top 3 things you like about it?
Well, what I like about Kinley, like I had mentioned, was that mix of, and heard other people talk about it last month, that you can go from sitting on your porch listening to the woods, and darn, I need something from Lowe's or Target.
Yep,
And you're
5 minutes.
10 minutes away, but more importantly, you're not sitting through 6 lights to get there. Where I came from, which was Rhode Island, it took you 20 minutes to go get milk. Here, like I said, you're around the corner from pretty much everything. And that's probably my number one thing that I was very, very impressed by. It's a safe community. And then finally, a lot of people don't realize there's a lot of beautiful spots in this community. And I found, you know, ranging anywhere from the reservoir on Valley to, you know, there's a little stone bridge on Peep Toad with the spillway and the waterfall and the mill next to it. You know, we walk our dogs there every weekend and just stand and kind of enjoy that spot. When I ride my bike, I'm not very good at it, but, you know, at times when I get to the top of whatever mountain I just climb, because this area is not flat, and I wish I had lived in Florida at times. But you take, when I get done catching my breath, I look around and you're looking over a valley, or it might be a pond or a creek, and there's these spots throughout the town that a lot of other communities just don't have. And again, you go back to it, when I am riding my bike, I know the ambulances are close, that helps too. But that's the thing, I was really very surprised by, like I said, how many beautiful, really little spots are, and that's what I talk about when I talk to people about Killingly.
Well, welcome to Killingly.
I appreciate it.
Thank you
Like I
so
said,
much.
wish it had been longer.
Anybody else?
How would you engage to ensure that all of the residents of the town's input was put into the vision committee?
I think that's a two-step process. I think one thing is recognizing that you need different tools for the different demographics of people that live in town. And what I mean by that, I heard folks talk about QR codes and et cetera, and those are important, but not everybody's going to be comfortable scanning those in. I also am a believer in surveys, but short surveys. Survey Monkey or something along those lines. People who are engaged, you want to make it brief and to the point. The important thing is explaining why you're doing this. We live in a culture where people want to know why. How to get to the people is, again, it's got to be multi-pronged in the sense that you have a very strong business association, working with them to get within their storefronts, including maybe even sitting in front of their storefronts. That could be something as simple as just handing out flyers about what we do and where you can respond in front of Stop and Shop, and not selling them anything. They'll be, it'd be pretty good, pretty event. The other item that I was thinking about was somehow engaging the school department. You have about roughly 2,500 students, allowing for some kind of discount for siblings, et cetera. You might be 1,500 to 1,800 households that are involved there. And I kind of look at the parents and guardians of the students are probably being as interested in what we're doing 5 years from now, 10 years from now, because this is going to be their future, what we're talking about. So if there's some way that we can get them involved through, the district-wide notification system that the school has, or even some kind of presentation to parent-teacher association, whatever it might be, or curriculum. I think that's a resource that can be looked at, because if you really think about it, that could be up to 20% of your population that could be involved. And then other ways like community center, the park, et cetera, the library, trying to get the brightest piece of paper to put on the wall. It's those type of things, but I do think it would be responsible for the vision committee to get out there. If there's any kind of event or something along, grab 5 minutes if we can to talk about what we're doing and why. That's to me, and then hopefully that word of mouth gets generated a bit.
Thank you. Council members, do you have any questions?
I was just curious, like what you did on the planning board. One of the things I love about this job, and there's a lot really difficult that I don't like, to be honest with you, but there's some things that I really love. And one of them is, as I went around and saw the people in the town, how much talent there is in this town and how smart people are, it's really overwhelming, honestly. So I don't know what happens on a planning board. So what happened?
Well, what I was involved in that I really enjoyed was the development of the comprehensive plan. It was the equivalent of your planning for conservation and development, I believe it's called. That was a fun to put together because you reached out to people ranging anywhere. In the town I was in, I had people that ranged from a very strong blue collar, population all the way to the founders of Hasbro. So it was a wide range of interests and a wide range of people. And it was fun kind of looking at and working with those folks as the plan is being developed. Kind of what I'm thinking about here, because I think, look at the vision committee as a collaborative process. And it can be like apolitical, and to me, if it's, it's a group of people who have a common interest of impacting the community they live in, and seeing it go in a positive direction, putting together a comprehensive plan was very, very similar to that, and I did enjoy that quite a bit. And I did enjoy, the conversations with the developers and their interests, and the adjacent landowners and their interests, in trying to come to a consensus, so to speak. Not everybody was happy, but at the same time, no, nobody went to war. And that's what I really enjoyed. And well, that's kind of how I try to operate, in kind of a collaborative environment. And that's what I would hope I would bring to the Vision Committee. I think the only negative that I didn't particularly care for in the planning board, and it was part of that comprehensive plan, and hopefully maybe the Vision Committee could do this, is there's no deadlines. And so I think if you're going to come up with a program, and as part of the Vision Committee, and you're going to come up with ideas of a comprehensive plan, is have some enactable targets, and have some that can, by year 2, see if we can do this. By year 5, do this. Very similar to business. When you have a 5-year plan, you don't check it every 5 years, you kind of check it every year. So if you can have some benchmarks in there as you go along, because this, I expect, and I'm really excited about, I was looking at some of the applications and listening to some of the people, like you mentioned, there's some talented people, but there's a great cross-section of people, and I would expect there's going to be some really good ideas, and I'd like to be part of that.
Any other questions, comments? I will say, I think that's a great idea to make sure that they have timeline and set when they want to achieve certain things. I know as a council, we've met with town staff just to review where we're at with the plan of conservation development. Kind of, because it's good to know where we're at, what we've achieved, what we still need to work on. And I would recommend that to anyone who's on a vision committee, is to do the same thing amongst yourselves, is once you figure out this is our goals, this is what we want to do, through that process, to look back and evaluate, all right, well, we're taking a little bit longer than we thought on this, what can we do to try and get through the rest of the things that we want to do? That way, they're able to encompass everything they want to bring forward to the council.
I think that would be important to work with you folks as well, in terms of your expectations for timelines, et cetera. I think that's going to be super important, because in the end, we're reporting to you, for lack of, working with you, et cetera. And so I think that would be important to understand, the expectations and that communication. Because the other thing is, too, you can go down a rabbit hole, and then, somebody will say, much as you might want to, there's like 19 statutes that are going to say no. So, okay, let's not waste more time with that. So I think I would hope there'd be like some open dialogue as we go along, to make sure that we're not going too far off a path and spending time that doesn't need to be spent.
Thank you. Any other questions from council members? Do you have anything further for us?
No, I think you give me the opportunity to speak. I appreciate it. I, quite frankly, appreciate the fact that you're even doing this. That's one of the things that makes this, I think, this community a little bit unique. Like I said, it's nice not to just do it every 10 years. This is a really, really good idea. I hope to be part of it.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
On behalf of the council, I want to thank you for coming forward and expressing interest in serving the community.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next item up on the agenda is item 3F. Frank Edelman is seeking appointment to the Vision Committee.
Good evening, all.
Good evening.
Thank you for having me here and asking me to come and speak to you. What can I tell you?
Just tell us a little bit about your background and why you feel you'd be an asset to the Vision Committee.
I'm trying to think what to say there. I have some background. Okay. As some of you know from what I handed in with you, I did teach at Quinnipiac Valley Community College for about 36 years. One of the courses I taught was in problem solving and looking at issues and coming up with new ways at looking at things, particularly being creative. And this is something I think that's important for the for the Vision Committee, that people don't start by saying, no, that can't be not done. We can't do this, we can't do that. No, you start with the, let's try, let's see, maybe we can do it. It might take 1, 2, or 10 years, but this is a vision plan. Thank you. Oh. That's one aspect. I have some background in strategic planning that I did with a corporation, but many years ago, and I was involved in that, and to a certain extent involved with the college when they were doing their extension and all of that. The college members, including me, got involved with that. That's some background. Why would I like to be on this particular committee? Some may recall about 2 or 3 years ago, I actually wrote a letter and I actually quoted the letter saying, folks, it's time for the Vision Committee. Let's please get it going. And that's why I'm utterly delighted that it is moving forward, and it's moving forward with speed. This is terrific. I'd like to continue to do that because I've believed in it for so many years, and I continue to believe this is a town that's got potential. The people here are nice people. It's funny, about a couple of weeks back, I thought to myself, you know what I'm going to do as I'm in different towns and shops, and I'm going to smile at people and just nod my head and see what happens. 80 to 90% of them nodded back, and I thought, wow, this is a nice place to be. So we want to create a vision that I'm calling, very naively, a happy place to be, where people want to come here because the environment is good, there are job opportunities to be created, a good school system, and other things. There are some things that I think we can still do to increase our potential in a number of ways. I could mention those if you want me to.
If you want to mention a few of them, sure.
I think Owen Bell Park has fantastic potential for doing things. That's a place where we should, you're doing the pond at the moment, close by the pond. We ought to be putting on concerts there. People can sit there, enjoy it, have a good time, stuff like that. I know the problem with that a little bit is that we might be drawing away from downtown. I'm certainly aware that at the moment, and I'm very appreciative of the economic development person that we have is now developing behind New York Pizza, a whole area there. That's going to be great for downtown, okay? The one goes against the other, I understand that. But we're going to have to, in our vision, work out both sides to their potential. I understand, I believe, why downtown is difficult, why we cannot close that road. It would be lovely if we could, or at least half close it, okay? I understand it's a state road and this has apparently got great difficulties. But that's something, for example, I would not want to see excluded immediately. Oh, we can't do that. It needs to go in to keep on working at it. Maybe in some time we can find a potential way of rerouting here and there. I've been thinking that there's not a lot of places for the younger people to do things during winter, particularly here. And I took a glance a little bit behind the high school, you know, the old high school. And there is a place there, I'm sure, we could enclose, put up some kind of a building. That stuff could be done indoors there. So what I'm saying is, I see a lot of possibilities for a lot of things that could be done here. And that's why we have the Vision Committee. I don't know what else to say to you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Grandelsky.
Well, you've been an advocate for the Vision Committee for quite a few years now. You've come up to the podium a number of times, and we're finally coming forward and giving you your chance, and I'm glad you're coming forward to step up and be on it.
Well, I would be delighted to do anything I could.
And I do want to acknowledge that you were the first person that floated this idea out to me many, many years ago. It was something I had talked about possibly doing before COVID hit, around 2018, 2019. I started floating the idea around. And to me, honestly, I feel like we should have done this sooner. And I'm glad the ball's rolling. I'm glad we have so many great candidates coming forward to serve on this, because I think it's what comes out of this is going to be great for the community.
Yeah.
So,
If I can add one other thing, we need to involve the community as much as possible in developing this plan. As you were pointing out, these are smart, good people. They want to contribute. The way I personally see it is for the Vision Committee to develop a long list of all the elements that we need to know about. Business, education, recreation, all the things, conservation and so forth. But then how do you get them involved? One of the things you could do, in my opinion, is you ask one person in each of those areas if they would get a little group together of 3 or 4 people and start working themselves, have that one person. In effect, that becomes a little subcommittee who would then report back to the Vision Committee, who would slowly start pulling it together and seeing what can be done and getting people to agree. In addition, of course, you have to have town meetings advertised, like the one that brought all the people to the library last time. There was a huge crowd. Once people get to hear more and more and get involved in all these different elements there, they will want to come to the meetings and to speak up. It's essential that we include as many town people as possible from all directions we can think of. We need their input. We need their input, whatever they think.
okay. Thank you.
So I know you have multiple areas in town that I've seen you involved with, but if you had to describe Killingly with 3 words,
Sorry?
if you had to describe Killingly with just 3 words, what would they be and why?
That's that sort of thing. I'd say, come and visit us and see how great we are. I don't know what else to say.
Okay. I know I've seen you at the Historical Society.
I'm
so.
at the Historic Society. As you know, I'm involved there. I'm involved with Learning and Retirement. That is, as many of you know, a program that attracts 300 to 400 people to all the programs that they do. Very involved with that. I am the treasurer there and involved in the program committee. And since I have the opportunity, this coming Friday, please, it's open house for Learning and Retirement. Go and join up, please. It's a great group, really it is, you know. And for $25, you get 40 programs you can attend for a whole semester. How could you beat that price? Okay, that's something else.
No, that's fine. That's good.
Any other questions?
Well, you answered my question, because my question was either 3 things that you love about Killingly or 3 things you want to improve. So you answered my question with the improvements, what you would see going forward. So thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Any further questions? Do you have anything further for us?
No, I'm said what I think, I hope is important.
Well, thank you for coming forward. Thank you for seeking interest and serving on this committee, and thank you for throwing the idea out to me many years ago. We'll now move on in the agenda. Next item up is item 3G. Jonathan Chapman is seeking appointment to the Vision Committee.
Good evening.
Good evening. So if you could, start out, tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, ways you feel you could be an asset to this committee, and why you're coming forward seeking appointment.
Sure. So I'm Jonathan Chapman. I'm the pastor of Westfield Church, just down the road, well, up the road from here. I moved to Killingly a dozen years ago now, which is hard to think about. I didn't mean to end up here. I am from Georgia, and I honestly did a nationwide search, and this was the job that worked out. And so I ended up in this little corner of this little state, a world away from home. And what I found was that I grew up here. Killingly is almost identical to the town that I was raised in. Different industries, of course. We don't have a Lay's plant at home. We have a Purina dog chow plant, which, you know, like, there's something weird about driving down the highway and smelling and thinking, I'm hungry, and then realizing you're smelling dog chow and not potato chips, you know, but that's another thing. I didn't know what to expect when I moved to Killingly. Of course, in the South, we have particular understandings about what and who New Englanders are. And I was as surprised as any to find out that those were, of course, untrue. I did find some folks who, to be honest, could be crusty, but once you break through to them, I find folks here are fiercely loyal, and I find them to be genuine. I find them to be generous to a fault, and just good people. I, as a pastor, often find myself ministering to a bunch of different folks. I have a variety of people in my congregation. We don't all vote the same. We don't all love the same, pray the same, talk the same, all of it the same. And yet somehow on Sunday morning, we realize that we can come together and share this thing, that there's something bigger than all the things that the world would have divide us, that we can be in it together. I think that's a gift, and I think that is something that could benefit, that conversation could benefit our community, having it more widely. I think we've certainly, it's no doubt, no surprise, no secret, that nationally we've sort of gotten to this tribalism of us against them, whoever us is and whoever them is. And I think we need to get beyond that somehow. And I think this is a chance for that to happen. I think that's an opportunity for healing. I think that's an opportunity for community and belonging. Common causes always yield that end result. So I'm interested about being involved in that. What I have to bring to the table, I feel like I'm a pretty good communicator. I'm a good rallier of getting people to a cause that I believe in. I have shown up for a decade in the hardest times. I've buried children here. I have buried people who've been murdered. I have buried the greatest generation. And every time I feel honored that these people trust me with that. And I think that trust is something that would benefit this broader conversation and ability. So I'm eager to offer that to the table. I'm a creative guy. I get lots of ideas at different times. I like meeting people and getting to know them. I feel like I have a tendency to put people at ease. I make a lot of dumb jokes, and that, you know, generally takes the tension out of situations. And, you know, I'm not really planning on going anywhere. I didn't mean to end up here. I thought I'd be here for 5 years. I'm on year 12. I love the people in my church. They love me, and I like it here. Things I would improve. Killingly Commons traffic drives me nuts. Just yesterday, I shouted at a guy at a four-way. I've just not met a four-way stop that, no offense, New Englanders couldn't screw up. And but beyond that, and I would probably, in Georgia, we call them buggies, not carriages at the grocery store, and I would fix that. But that's really, you know, in the grand scheme of things, pretty minimal. Yeah.
All right, thank you. I will open up for questions, comments. Mr. Grandelsky.
Well, I'm glad you came to town. I met you early on.
Very early
It
on.
was very interesting. It was good having conversations with you and whatnot. I didn't know what to expect, you know, and all I know is your first year, we went to the Christmas Eve service, and how can a guy come up from the South at Christmas Eve and have the snow coming down, the perfect New England, everything came out, it couldn't be So I'm glad you're here. and
I
you
keep telling y'all I know a
experienced
guy, and people keep questioning me
that.
on
You make
it.
things happen.
Yeah.
So
Thank
it was wonderful.
If you don't know, Ed was my very first landlord. I moved into his mama's house when I moved to Killingly, and he's right. He did not know anything about me, and we sniffed each other out for a while. And every time I needed something, he showed up faithfully, and I was grateful for it. Yeah.
So if you were back home and you had to describe Killingly with 3 words,
Mm-hmm.
what 3 words would they be and why?
Loyal, generous, compassionate. I've seen this town rally around each other in some dark, dark moments. And I have been honored to be at the helm of helping facilitate those. And for all the stuff that we fight about, when the cards are on the table and life gets real, the people here show up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. George.
Hello.
Hey,
How are you?
doing all right.
Thank you for stepping up for this. I know that we have a lot of great people that have come up, but can you just, I'm not even gonna ask you a question. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the programs that you have that helps this entire community? Because there are so many.
Sure. So, at Westfield, we talk about being the sort of the heart of Killingly. We've got the big heart on our door. Our congregation descends from the very first congregation in town, and we're proud of that. We hold on to that, of course. We really feel like we're a community church. So there's lots of churches that do different like international missions, and that's great and good, and they do national mission work, and that's great and good. But what we see is like, this is our home, and for more than 300 years, this has been our home, and we feel charged to care for the people here. And that looks a lot of different ways. That looks like a lot of free meals. So free meals every second Friday. We just had one tonight. Through the winter months, we have free soups on Sundays. When we meet that need, we have that. Every holiday season, we do a big push for gift cards, of all things. So $10 gift cards to places like Dollar Tree, Dollar General, Job Lot, Walmart, Aldi. And what I tell people at those Christmas services you mentioned is that this isn't fixing anything. What we're doing is we're trying to put a Band-Aid on arterial bleeding. We're the very first line of defense for people who find themselves in deepest need. And of course, y'all know this to be true. We have, as far as our homeless are concerned, we have our homeless, like the community that grew up here who found themselves in whatever circumstance they found themselves, and we care for them. But we also have a number of transient homeless who find their way from New London to Worcester and Providence to Hartford, and we're at that crossroads for them. And we could talk all day about how to fix the solution, but at the end of the day, we have people sleeping outside in 10-degree weather, and we're trying to keep them alive. And these little gift cards, I had a guy just tonight come, and he came up to me, he's like, "Hey, Pastor, hey, what's going on? Well, do you think you could help me get glasses?" And what he showed me was a pair of readers he had that didn't have the ear parts, I don't even know what you call them. Thank you, yes, these, just the glasses. And yeah, I think I can fix that. That's the kind of thing we're fixing. I'm buying them a meal, we're giving them money to go to Dunkin' so they can charge and be warm for an hour without getting kicked out. Fundamental, like, trying to help people. So that's a big piece of what that is. And I want to say that's not just us. That's also the Methodist Church downtown, the Baptist Church downtown, particularly for our downtown folks living. Those churches are just showing up relentlessly to try to chip away at what feels like an impossible thing. And we've got to do something about it. I think that is part of this vision thing. I don't think that's, dreaming up new social services and trying to figure out how that pans out. But I think when we talk about serving our community, we need to be sure we're talking about all of our community. And that includes the people who may not have a voice and the people who may not show up to meetings like this because they don't know they're around. And I think it's imperative. That's what you've been elected to. Those are still the same people you've been elected to serve. And those are the people I've been called to serve. And so I think we want to be sure to include those folks. Then, of course, there's in many ways we're the town's church. There are many wonderful churches in town. But due to just the extended history of our congregation, we find ourselves being the landing point for the community when they find themselves in times of crisis. And that is a beautiful responsibility to hold. And so, we fling open our doors any chance we get. We also see ourselves as, have long seen ourselves as sort of companions on the town journey, in as much as my congregation's very willing for me to work on town planning things. So I work closely with Parks and Rec on the Great Tomato Festival. I did that for 5 or 6 years. The return of Springfest, I've been working on that. We still linger with a little bit of that around, town Hocus Pocus night on our lawn every October. We've done that for a decade now with Parks and Rec. So we have a very tight connection with Parks and Rec. We work well together with them. Most recently, for a little over a decade, we've done Killingly's Egg Hunt, which features 11,000 eggs, which I'm here to tell you is no joke when you're trying to stuff 11,000 eggs. Just this week, one of my church people, I tell them, if you need to send candy, send it to my house. I'll bring it to the church because, the office at the church has weird hours. And one of them said, well, I bet you eat candy if it comes to your house. I bet you skim off the top. And I told them, I said, I was offended by that accusation. I said, I do not. I bring it to church and then I open it and take candy off the top of it. And that's just the travel fee, the delivery fee, So most recently, so last year, maybe 2 years ago now, we partnered with Parks and Rec to make that both Westfield and a town event. And I think that's what we need to be about. I think this notion of functioning in silos is dated. I think it's, we're in it together, we ought to act like it. And we show up for each other and we help each other out. There's a lot we don't agree on. Let's find the things we do and let's move from there.
I love that. I only have one suggestion.
Sure.
So when you guys do that amazing winter bazaar, the bake sale, that should just be a bakery year-round.
A year round. We do have, the only, I'll stake a lot of claims, but the one I will fight you about is that I have the best bakers in Killingly at my church. Yeah,
You do?
it's true. Yeah, they're pretty great. Our next one's May 3rd. You should come.
I'm already looking forward to it.
Yes.
Thank you
Thanks.
so much.
Thank you, Mr.
One
Grandelsky.
thing, I want to give you a thank you for all the inconvenience that we gave to you with the reconstruction of Reynolds Street. I mean, that went on. And
It did.
you guys put up with it, and I appreciate all of that. And it went way beyond issues that you've had, and it was, started out as a paving job, and then you were at the town's mercy for quite a while. And I'm thankful that, if now we have a good project over there.
It was on my list to thank you because that improvement is huge. That is just so much better than it was. It was not fun when it was going on, no doubt. And toward the end, I would start driving in, and if I came up and saw those orange cones across Reynolds Street one more time, I was going to be real unchristian about it. But
I think we should have done confetti cannons at one point
I
in time,
did.
right?
I should have. We definitely
should have
celebrate
done
with
that.
confetti. Yeah. But it is such an improvement. Parking wise, it is safer. It is easier to drive up. So for my older folks who have accessibility issues, my God, it is night and day. And of course, from a structural standpoint, it is no joke I actually, I have an eBay search for Killingly because I'm just curious to see what shows up. And there's all these postcards. And I found one postcard that showed Reynolds Street looking north, not north, east, from the corner of the church and the park looking up. So you don't see the church, but you can see the old pipe railing that we just took down from 1908. So we know, I knew it was old. I didn't know it was that old. And so that really worked out. And y'all were so gracious to work with us about figuring out how to pay for it, how to make that happen. And that's what I'm talking about. We're in it together. Let's figure it out together. And there's an example of it. So yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Pastor.
Hey.
So it's interesting. Listen, the first thing I want to say, I want to thank everyone for coming because I haven't laughed this hard in 2 weeks. And I think the first thing we should do is a comedy night with everybody here. So listening to you, I can see where there was great value in the communication, the people skills. You're all about the people. And kind of in the other visions, everybody's kind of about, all right, either the business or the conservation, arts, things. Do you know what I mean? So in the group, that's very valuable. How do you see taking that skill and putting it into the broad vision?
Yeah, well, you can have all the vision you want, but if you don't have someone who can communicate it effectively, it doesn't matter. And I think communicating effectively doesn't just mean speaking pretty. I think it also means having trust somebody that people can trust. And humbly, I feel like I've spent a dozen years trying to build that with people. And so I think that coming into a setting like this where everybody has something they're bringing to the table, of course, that's what we need. But caring for people, but also communicating to people effectively, picking up what it is that they may find particularly of interest or concern, and helping to connect the dots for them as to how this particular vision may benefit them, or hearing what they're picking up and saying, oh, well, we could do whatever, and bring it back to the committee. I think those sort of connections are really what I could bring to the table.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? I did have a few, but it seems everybody is already asking my questions that I have before I get a chance to, and I'm fine with that. Definitely want to say thank you for coming forward. And I agree, communication is a huge piece of this vision committee being a success, and not just communication amongst the commission itself, but also communication with the council, communication with the community. And I really think outreach to the community and getting the community involved in this as much as possible is going to be a huge piece of this vision committee being a success.
I agree.
Any other questions, comments?
Yeah, I'm thinking on this.
Sure.
Interesting. So, for instance, when we had the mental health disagreement at the school, it was, I'm from another town, and I was like, oh my God, what happened to this town? And so I guess I would love to see, if we go forward and the vote is there or whatever, that your vision for how you communicate is brought into the whole community and brought that healing, honestly.
Yeah.
Somehow to make that concrete skill everybody's skill. I'd love to see that for our vision.
Thank you. Yeah, it's definitely, to be honest, the political landscape of the last, say, 5 years has certainly kept me on my toes in learning how to talk to everybody across the board and still try to proclaim, not to get super Jesus-y, but I'm a pastor, right? So like how to still proclaim what I believe to be the good news of Jesus Christ to people who think very differently about what that means in the world, and still find a way forward. The thing that comes to mind is this Mother Teresa quote. She says, if we have no peace, it's because we've forgotten that we belong to each other. And I think part of our job as a vision committee, part of your job, part of mine, is to remind people that we still belong to each other. We still are obligated to each other. And there are all sorts of things we can fight about, but there are some non-negotiables. And seeing the humanity in each other and naming the importance that every person be cared for and have an opportunity to have a voice and to be present in conversations like these are, to me, some of those.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions? Do you have anything for us? Anything
I don't.
further?
I'm just really grateful for the opportunity. I think it's the right track. To be honest, I got a lot on my plate. So if there are other people you feel are better fits, that's chill. That said, I feel like I have a lot I could offer. And if it could be of service to this town and to you, throw me in. I will make the time. I will figure it out. I will be there for it. There's a lot I'm not willing to do. This is something I am. So for what it's worth, there it is.
All right. Well, on behalf of the council, I want to thank you for coming forward. Thank you for expressing interest in serving the community.
Sure thing. Look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Next up on the agenda, we're going to move on to item 3.8.
So
H
Hannah
is
was
on-
unable to
okay.
attend because
Yep.
she is sick, so she's
Yep.
asked for a
So
future
we will
date.
move on to 3I, Theodore Dobert.
Hi, everyone.
Welcome.
This is my first time interviewing for anything in quite some time, so I apologize if there's any cobwebs I have to shake off. But I do appreciate you guys for taking the time to set this up and to have me here, so.
So, as I've asked everybody before, if you could, just tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, how you feel you would be an asset to the Vision Committee, and why you're looking for appointment.
Absolutely. So, speaking of people that moved here recently, I moved here in October of this past October. I'm originally from Vermont, a small town in Vermont, southern Vermont, probably about 800 people or so that live in that town. I then met my wife at Framingham State University. She was not interested in moving to Vermont, so we lived in Massachusetts for some time, and now we are here, and we've been here since October, and it's been a nice place to put down roots. I think that, as other people had spoken to this idea that I think Killingly kind of encompasses, right, rural and things close down the road as well, which again we did not have in Vermont. So this is a nice change of pace. I own a private practice. I'm a licensed therapist, so I'm a business owner. I'm a husband. And I hope to come at this from, again, the perspective of somebody who is new to the area, but cares deeply about people. And you had mentioned the mental health piece, right, which is something that I had certainly read about. Again, being new to the area, I just kind of Googled Killingly and things happening. So in some sense, that was also some inspiration, right, for getting involved. I think our young people, our schools, and just supporting them in the ways that we can is a top priority of mine, whatever that looks like. And again, as a therapist, right, I listen to people for a living, and I wanted to, make that clear here, right, that my job is to support people, meet them where they are at, set reasonable, attainable goals, and I would imagine that could hopefully be of some use to, the town of Killingly. I love the idea that, again, this is even a thing, this committee. I'm honestly open to being on any committee. I just want to get involved. I have some spare time. So if it's not this, as the gentleman before me said, right, if there are other things going on, I would certainly, be interested in seeing other opportunities as well. I hope I answered your question. I said a lot there, but if you guys, have other questions for me, I'd be happy to answer them.
All right. Well, want to thank you for coming here. I will throw this out there, especially seeing how you've just moved to town recently. What is one thing that you find about Killingly that's different about anywhere else you've lived?
So I think, so to preface this, I lived in Webster previously in Massachusetts. We came about 20 minutes, south of the border. I've been to, Putnam, and I love the Black Dog restaurant. Me and my wife spent quite a bit of time there. So it's a nice area, right? So then we came a little bit more south to Killingly. I think that, again, I like the idea that, location, right? And I think of when we talk about things like business and attracting people to this area, being right off of 395, right? You have downtown that has a lot going on, and it's still, we live in a little bit more of a rural part of town, which I appreciate. But again, it's just these things being so close. Again, I think something that perhaps you take for granted, unless, again, you grew up without those things. It's nice to have those things close to you. And again, to be so close to the highway. My parents still live in Vermont. They come down and visit at times. It's not a bad ride. So Killingly, it's a beautiful area. There's a lot going on. I own a couple dogs. I will register them with the town. They are vaccinated. But yeah, so that's, I hope I answered that question. I'm, shaking off some cobwebs here. But there's a lot going on. This is a nice area. And again, I think affordability, when we talk about where do we want to plant down roots, I don't think Massachusetts has ever been, known to be overly affordable. No one will ever, accuse them of that. So we moved down to, Connecticut, and you get a lot more bang for your buck, right, down here. And again, it's a beautiful area. It had everything we were looking for. So it made a lot of sense to come down here and find something that fit all of our needs.
All right. Ms. Wakefield.
Same thing. I know you're recent,
Yes.
but in your 5 months of living here, if you had to describe Killingly to back home in Vermont, or what would be 3 things that would stand out?
Sure. I think that there is that nice overlap, right? This idea that you can, you know, the rural piece to it. The people are friendly, the people are kind. I do a lot of running, perhaps as the weather gets nice, right? Maybe some of you guys will see me. And just, you know, other people had alluded to this earlier as well, just this fact that I think people are friendly, right? Genuine, kind. It's a stressful time to be alive, I think, for a lot of people, right? And despite that, right, there is this resilience. And that's something that I like to see in my work with people, and it's something that it's always nice to see, you know, out in the community as well. So there's that piece of it, that small town feel, which again was something that attracted me to it. But then there's things going on, right, in Killingly itself, but also in, you know, my wife and I, we just went and saw like a comedy show in Providence, right? It was much closer than I had thought, right? So again, back to that idea of it being central to things, there's a lot going on here. And I look forward to, again, learning more about Killingly. Again, whether through this venture or something else, but there is a lot of overlap in places I have lived in the past. But again, it just checked a lot of boxes, which I can appreciate.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Church.
Hi.
As I always say, welcome to Killingly.
Thank you.
Happy you're here.
Thank you.
So you haven't been here very long, so I won't hit you with 3 things. What is the top thing besides the versatility? So you said a lot of positive. Is there anything you see in Killingly that we don't have that you would like to see?
Anything that you don't have that I
Like
would...
amenities, different types of, you know, business, entertainment?
Well, it's hard, right? Because again, nothing necessarily jumps out to me. I will say this: I've had nothing but pleasant interactions with the folks at Town Hall, which again I think has been. And I wanted to shout that out to you folks, right, as you may oversee them or have some engagement with them. But they've been nothing but helpful in this move, right? From the clerks to whoever I was speaking to about anything. Paying my water bill or you know, my sewer bill, things like that. People have just been incredibly helpful and kind. And so I wanted to, you know, shout out those frontline workers while I'm here. As far as things that, again, perhaps could use improvement, it's really hard for me to say at this, you know, at this point. And I'm sure we all have things, right, that we can improve on and grow on. Again, I reference that mental health point, right? Perhaps that's something that we could, you know, discuss and come, you know, I'm not even sure if a decision's been made or if there's more conversation to have there. I also read something about like missing out on funds for a school mascot and things like that, right? And again, I think we're all entitled to our beliefs, but it's about how do we kind of bridge the gap, right? And kind of come together and identify a common goal and remember, like, what is our purpose here? What are we doing here, right? So, but as far as specifics, I really don't have anything.
Good answer.
Thank you.
But I will
Thank you.
say, so when you brought up the mascot, there's an ad hoc committee that's working really hard, and they've dialed it back. The students are working on that, like they've taken the lead. So you'll see some information coming up on that.
Which I love to see, right? And again, I think just engaging our young people, a couple of folks before me have discussed that. I think that's critical. Again, despite all of that, regardless of how we feel about those things, I think just involving young people, right, giving them a voice. Young people often feel very disenfranchised, right, because they can't vote for one thing, right? They don't, and they don't attend things like this all that often. But so if we can kind of reach them, meet them where they're at, and kind of, right, take some pride and kind of ownership of your community, I think that's critical, as these will be the people that are taking care of us, right, and taking care of things after we're not here, so.
Right, and you want them to stay here.
I do want them to stay here, absolutely. We don't want to be, what do they refer to that as, a brain drain, right, where our best kind of leave and go elsewhere. We don't want to see that.
So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Ms. Murphy.
I'll just say, what was the Vermont town? My family was up in Pownell for years.
Pownell, so I grew up in Stamford, so Pownell's the
Stanford,
next
I
town
own
over.
property in
Yes, get out of
Stanford.
here. That's
Yeah.
where my parents still live there. My sister lives in Pownell, actually.
Yeah,
so,
yeah, you know the gas station on Route 7
in
there?
Pownell?
Yeah,
Yes,
that's my
okay.
family.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
Wow, okay, that's great. That's, yes, so small world, yes. Yeah, that is funny. Yeah, good stuff.
Any other questions, comments? You have anything further for us?
I'll refer to my notes. I don't believe so. Like I said, I really wanted to shout out the town hall, and I think even the DMV and everybody. Not that that has anything to do with killing. That was in Putnam, but just again, kind of coming from living in a couple different states, Connecticut and Killingly has just been. It's been a really nice experience here. I will say that. So again, I thank you guys for setting this thing up. I think this is great. Just the idea of this committee, and I hope to be a part of it. But if not, if some other way you feel like you could use me, my experiences, I would be happy to participate.
All right. Thank you.
you
On
very
behalf of the council, just thank you for your interest in serving the community.
Thank you so much. Thank you all.
Next up on the agenda is item 3J. Glenn Paul Archambault is seeking appointment to the Vision Committee.
I don't know how my middle name got in there, but thank you for that. Good evening.
I'm reading what's on here.
I know, very formal. So good evening. As you heard, my name's Glenn Paul Archambault. I moved here with my family from Rhode Island about 13 years ago, and easily one of the best decisions I think I've ever made. This town has been nothing but fantastic to me and my family. You've taken good care of us. You know, I echo dealing with anybody at the town hall to anybody in public safety. You've educated my children. And I'm kind of at that point now in my life where, you know, I feel like I need to give back. I need to actually make, you know, the things that were available to me available to other families that may consider Killingly home or want to consider Killingly home. So that's kind of the motivation for me being here. I was looking for a good fit, something that might make sense for some of my skills, and I saw the ad that you had put in the paper for the Vision Committee, and I thought that might be appropriate. You know, by trade, I work as a project manager. My job is to manage transformational change in organizations, primarily financial institutions. And I've learned a lot of things in that trade that I think apply to a Vision Committee. That early on in that job, I always thought, I think, Paul, you had shared, you know, it was about in planning that, you know, sometimes there are deadlines, and it's not about getting tasks done. It's not about meeting deadlines. It's about listening to people. It's trying to get to a level of understanding, and then inherently solutions always come out of those kind of conversations. So I thought this questionnaire was just brilliant. So I don't know if you crafted this yourself. So in project management, again, it's about you listen, and then eventually the solution sort of rises to the surface. So I started to kind of socialize this with some people in the community. The person who gave me my coffee at Two Dogs the other day, my barber, and people want to talk about this stuff. The questions are thought-provoking. They have ideas that they want to share. One of it here is how are we going to make sure that this process is inclusive? And I think that's the way to do it. I think surveys have a place, but you know, in business, I find that surveys sometimes they tend to lean more towards people who have a complaint than they want to say the positive things, and you got to get both sides of that story. And so in the short conversations I had with some of the members of the community, they have ideas, they have things they want to see, and they're very, very proud. I think one of the things when I moved here that I always appreciated was the stewardship of the town. I mean, coming from Rhode Island, and Paul, you probably can attest to this, I thought potholes were an engineering kind of a staple, but you know, your roads are well maintained. Davis Park, I walk Davis Park every morning just to get my daily walk in, and there's two gentlemen who empty the trash and they water those beautiful flowers on the front, and they are proud of what they do, and the park is beautiful, and you don't get that, you know, not every town shows that. You look in these buildings and you look at that beautiful high school that you built, and really there's a lot of pride in this town. And I want to do what I can to kind of continue that, continue to be a good steward of the community, so that if my children choose to do so, they continue to live and grow and raise their own families here. So it's kind of my motivations.
Thank you. I do want to say I think it's great that you've actually gone out in the community already with those questions to interact with people, because I think that's going to be a huge part of this Vision Committee is the outreach and being able to reach the community. And sometimes it takes going to where they are rather than, and that was part of why I wanted to get this going and bring as many different people in as we can, and express the importance of outreach into the community for this, because trying to listen to just the few people who can make it to these meetings, that isn't the entire community as a whole. So the fact that you're going out to where they are and reaching them where they are, I think that is awesome.
Yeah, I think it's very effective. And I think the task that you have in creating or forming a committee that has that level of diversity too, that represents young families and retirees and veterans and elderly and people who focus on conservation and business, that's critical. And making sure that the voices on that committee are not too strong in one area over the other. Let's have some real good dialogue. Let's have people on there that again seek to understand before being understood.
Thank you. Other questions from council members? Ms. Wakefield?
So as somebody that's spent my entire life, and my family's been here for a very long time, not
Mhm.
quite as long as, Westfield Congregational Church, but, and you're fairly recent, but well, 12 years seems like a long time, but it goes by really fast.
I didn't have gray hair at the time, so it's.
So, if you had to come up with 3 words to describe somebody back in Rhode Island,
Yeah.
to describe Killingly.
Well, first of all, I am always proud when the people from Rhode Island, and they don't venture away from Rhode Island too often, when they do come over, I'm very proud to show them around this town and this area and all the amenities. So let me just start by there. But I think, I heard a few things that community is first and foremost. Everybody was very welcoming. The compassion has been amazing. Just, when there are people in need, it's just been great. And there's a lot of pride, like I said, with the stewardship. So I think those are the 3 words I think would sum up this town very, very well.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Other questions, comments? Ms. George?
Hello.
Hi.
Welcome to Killingly.
Thank you.
Little overdue, So your answers have pretty much already answered my questions, but I like your action-driven approach.
Mhm.
So you've, like Jason said, you've taken that out, or you've already talked. So I think the collaboration between, so you guys can come up with a plan, but then like your idea to get out there and talk to everyone
Yeah.
is key to this vision committee being successful.
Yep.
So thank you for that.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions from council members? Do you have anything further for us?
I don't, but I do thank you for the opportunity, and like I said, I'm looking for an opportunity to give back to all of you and the town, so thank you for having me here this evening.
On behalf of the council, thank you for showing interest. We'll now move on the agenda. The next item up is item 3K, and I apologize if I mispronounce your name. Lucia Zekin? Okay. All right, so we'll move on to item 3L, David Cassateri. Okay. All right. So we'll move on to item 4, citizen statements and petitions. Ms. Gloria, did we have anything submitted?
None were submitted.
Okay. If anyone would like to make public comment, we just ask you to keep the comments pertinent to the items on this evening's agenda.
Good evening. My name is John LaBelle, 57 Island Road, Dayville, Connecticut. I'm very impressed with this process and the people who have volunteered to be on this commission. For those of you that don't know me, you'll get to know me. And I'm chairman of one of the significant commissions in town. If you're not selected for this, do not give up. There are other commissions that really need a full boat of people who are interested in serving the community, serving the people, and being fair about everything that they do. I just want to say that council, I know you guys work hard, and I can't emphasize how much I appreciate what you do. Thank you for doing this. Really appreciate it. I know that Frank has talked about this for years, and at long last, it's going to happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Last call for public comment. All right, we'll move on in the agenda. Next item up, item 5, old business, and we have none, so we'll move on to item 6, new business, meeting with Killingly Business Association.
Just bring up another chair. Just grab another chair.
Good evening, Town Council. Thank you for having the Killingly Business Association this evening. It's long overdue. I don't know that we've come before you before. If we have, it's been a long time. So we really wanted to bridge the gap, develop a relationship with you all, and tell you who we are and what we really do. I am Amy Brunette, if you don't know me. I am the president of the Killingly Business Association, broker owner of Brunette and Company Real Estate.
I'm Shauna Dickerman, Sugar's Bakery owner, and also the vice president alongside this girl, Amy.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Jaylee Stokes. I teach yoga, and I'm the KBA coordinator.
Yeah, so we have a slideshow presentation for you to talk a little bit about what we've had going on and what our future looks like for 2025. You all have the printout, so I won't bore you tremendously with our long mission statement, but we have been in operation for 20 years and are obviously very passionate about promoting our business members. All right, so this year we did 19 ribbon cuttings in conjunction with the Northeastern Chamber of Commerce, and we included town and state officials. That should be the next slide. Oh, you can meet your executive committee. There's me and Shauna.
New picture.
I know I need a little clicker. Our treasurer, Deb Kirkconnell, represents the Danielson Lodge of Elks. Our secretary, Jennifer Reynolds, is from A. Reynolds Electric, local business. Jaylee Stokes, our fantastic KBA coordinator. Jason Verino from North Star is our immediate past president. Terry Steele and Carrie Vargas are both executive committee members from Care Counseling in Dayville. Susie Bernardo is from Hope Lodge Venue, which is actually in Moosup. And Kim Sweet is our Bank Hometown Killingly branch manager. We have committees within the KBA. So our membership committee is Lexi Brunette of Brunette and Company Real Estate and Jennifer Reynolds. So their task is to generate new membership and support our members directly. And then we have marketing and events, Cheryl Lyman from Bank Hometown and Brittany Clark, owner of Two Dogs. And they help create new events or promote ones that we already have. There we are. So we conducted the 19 new business ribbon cuttings, like I said, in conjunction with the Northeastern Connecticut Chamber of Commerce. We have town officials. Many of you have joined us for those, state representatives. So it was a very robust season last year, bringing in new business to Killingly. All right, so something that's very unique to the Killingly Business Association is our membership spotlights on Winnie. We do 52 a year. They're 7-minute segments. The benefit is available to all of our members with the opportunity to showcase their business. We add weekly announcements that take place at the end of the segment, and we always highlight the town events and happenings that are coming. The reach from this Winnie Spotlight for us is 85,000 followers. And also, Winnie will pick up and share our social media, so whether we have an event happening or a ribbon cutting, it's transcending out to those 85,000 followers. The cost each month for the KBA is $360, and that's a $90 value to each business that gets to go on. We also host live Winnie broadcasts for each community event to grow participation, and those are $700. And we usually do about 3 to 4 of those a year. This is a massive and unique value to our members, being KBA is the only association with a weekly Winnie community radio spot. Reinvestment in the youth of our community. We are extremely passionate about this. We want our youth to live, work, and stay in Killingly, so we take time to reinvest in our youth. A couple of things that we have worked on is the Tips for Tool fundraiser, the internship program, career pathways, and many volunteer opportunities. And I'll go through each one of those. But coming soon, we're working on a young woman empowerment program. We're going to be partnering with the Putnam Business Association to do that so that we can get into more schools collectively. We're starting a business academy for the youth, and we hope to do some voting education this year just to tell the students that they have a voice. The KBA is sort of the unbiased committee to do this, to just really get them engaging in, taking a stand in their community. So these are some of the fun things we did. We actually did a ribbon cutting for a preschool class at Killenly Schools. They opened a plant shop, and so they invited us and the Chamber of Commerce to do a true ribbon cutting for them. We do a community cleanup every year where a lot of the Killenly students come and help out. We go through town. Our Brunette and Company gal at the bottom is one of my interns from the internship program. And then you'll see some of the students there crafting their plants to give us before we left that day. Yep. So Tips for Tools. This has been a tremendous program that the KBA has grown to huge strides. This program has awarded 50 students over the past 4 years since its inception. These underprivileged students who apply for the scholarship through essays have received the tools they need for a successful high school career at Ellis Tech and beyond as they enter into the workforce. The Tips for Tools program raises approximately $20,000 per year from alum donations, raffle prizes, and the generous celebrity bartenders and their followers. So that's us awarding some of the freshmen. This is one of the students that was a recipient in 2023, and he was able to pursue his dream of the electrical shop. He's gotten out in the community and done some work, so it was very exciting to meet him and just hear how that scholarship has helped him. And it was created by Ellis Tech alum of the KBA to provide tools for freshman students in need. These tools are a necessity for their chosen shop and can be very costly, upwards of $1,000. Students prepare an essay, and selected students are awarded based on need, passion for their career path, and academic achievement. Money is raised through celebrity bartending and raffle sales, bringing in approximately $20,000 each year. Business donations have proved to be generous throughout these years. When scholarships are presented, we teach the students the importance of giving back to their community. And that is a conversation that we have with them. And they're always stunned when they come in that room because they have no idea why they're there. But we say, you know, there's just one string attached, and it's give back. You know, you've been given the opportunity, help each other, and give back to your community. Many of the recipients have gone on to participate in work-study programs in their trade, volunteered at community events, and been employed in their trade. A lot of the students will come back and help with the fundraising, you know, for the future freshmen, and some of our local businesses have employed these scholarship recipients. So that's been a terrific program. Other youth engagement programs that we have done, we're committed to the development of empowered, successful youth in our community, giving them the tools and opportunity to pursue careers of their choice. We believe in developing relationships for them with community members and town officials so they may look to us for guidance and support, which will engage them to work, live, and stay in our community. So again, the programs that we've implemented, just to touch on them a little deeper, the internship programs. So we have partnered with the Career Center at the high school, and we have given opportunity for students to become interns for different businesses that they think they might be interested in. EastCon has partnered with us the past year. So that's been a nice opportunity for students to go in, learn about their chosen career, and see, do they like it? Is it really a good fit for them? And it's also helped the employers, you know, just to develop that youth relationship once again. Our Business Academy, so kind of a spin-off of the internship program, marketing and events. We had a conversation about that. We'd really like to get into the schools and prevent some education on the business. You know, maybe you want to be a realtor, and how do you do that? And you know, you're going to get a smaller select group that you can really work one-on-one with. So we thought that would be beneficial, and then maybe we can move them into the interning. We also participate in career pathways often, many of our local businesses, showcasing, you know, the various career paths for the students. So it's about a one hour program that we provide, but that's another nice way to engage with the youth. My hope is that we can start to get into the middle schools, because oftentimes at high school, it's a little bit too late. You know what I mean? If we could get to them in middle school with some of these opportunities, then they may choose their classes accordingly in high school. But it's all about just bridging that gap with the youth and the businesses. Community events. There's some pictures of our community events. Our community events are primarily free to the public and put on by sponsorships on the backs of our businesses. These activities are not for profit. Of course, our famous Second Saturdays. So we do them in July and August. Attendance is upwards of 150 folks, and vendor spots are usually about 50. We provide activities for the children, host live entertainment, have various food options, and showcase what our town and vendors have to offer. Spooktacular Week, so we partner with KPRD, have a very good relationship with them, so we've added a few events to kind of fill that week in. So we added the Haunted Main Street Tour, which I was really excited. Somebody talked about it tonight. We worked really hard with the Historical Society on that, and they were phenomenal. When I retire, I'm absolutely going to volunteer there. But we just wanted to do something because people always talk about the history of our Main Street, and it is robust, and there were so many cool stories. So we did do ticket sales for that, and really the money that was made just covered the tickets. We had volunteers. It was a sellout for the first time. We had 50 people, so we'll definitely add on and add different groups next year. But that was very, very exciting. And then KBA always puts on the trick or treat on Main Street, and I don't have to tell you how many thousands of trick or treaters we get. But it's phenomenal. So we've also been working to add on to that as well, doing, some kind of activity in Commerce Ave so that we can kind of fill that area while the Spooktacular Parade is happening. And of course, we all participate in the Spooktacular Parade, which is fantastic. We also volunteer at Frosty's Big Night Out. Those are some of our candy canes that we tag. So we hang out, give candy canes, and just say hi to the community. And that's always a great night. We've done that for a long time. We do the Easter egg hunt. And KBA, again, puts on a free activity for the children. We do business after hours. So the KBA hosts 4 of these events per year with an attendance of about 50 members. This is a networking opportunity within the KBA. Our business host will provide the venue and food and beverage. So it's a nice night. Town officials come, but it's a good way to meet and greet people if you don't otherwise know each other. This year, we also, in '24, added the Small Town Music Festival. That was a really exciting, unique event. There it is. That brought in 13 bands, 15 to 18 vendors, and about 1,000 people. It was so exciting to watch. We had people from all over, different states, bands from different states. The Elks did a steak and cheese sandwich and sold out, and we closed down Pizza Pizzazz. They had no more food to sell. So it was great for the businesses, great for the community. We'll do it again this year. I think we're talking about making it more vendors and kind of including more area. And then, of course, we have our monthly KBA meetings and collaborations. So our monthly meetings are the first Thursday of each month at the Killingly Public Library. These meetings are well attended by members, KPRD, Killingly Police, the Borough, Historical Society, Library, and other town departments who may have news to share. We provide a member spotlight where folks can share and introduce their business or civic activity. We are committed to our collaborations and relationships townwide, all promoting stability, safety, and growth. Our volunteers, members of the executive committee, give 20 plus, that's probably light, of unpaid volunteer time weekly for our KBA. Our committee members do the same volunteering time to put projects into place throughout the town. So some of the projects Beautification Committee has done, the Pollinator Garden Cleanup, the Little League painting projects, I think that was on one of the slides. Daffodil planting at Owen Bell Park and Gateways, Industrial Park cleanup days, Green Day with Killingly students, Shop Local campaigns, and the Main Street Planters. We do it because we love it. We're passionate about it. We love our town. I grew up a cheerleader. I'm still a cheerleader, but it's for Killingly. Love this town, love the people in it, whatever we can do to promote the business that we have, but also grow new business. And again, engage in the youth so that they will live and work and stay with us. So our annual $5,000 request as a town contribution allows the KBA to obtain funds and multiply it close to $100,000 in economic value to the community and provide hundreds of volunteer hours every year to enhance the resident, visitor, and business experience. So that's a huge return on investment and very well-used funds that we ask. Anything else, ladies?
You covered it all.
And then some. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's be honest, you're not really ever going to retire.
Never. Tammy, what would I do? Of course I'm not. But I could still go play at the Historic Society.
I do want to say the tips for tools thing is huge. Coming from someone who works in a trade and has had interns from Norwich Tech, because I worked down in Mottville, from the tech school at the shop working for us. And the biggest thing I hear from them is how expensive tools are.
Yeah.
Me being in a trade for 30 years, I can't comprehend coming in now with the amount of tools you need now just to start. So being able to help those out who are unfortunate and can't afford it, I think that's huge and that's awesome. And
Thank
we
you.
need the tradesmen in this.
We sure do.
Every trade right now is so short-staffed.
Very true.
So thank you for that.
Hi, ladies.
Hi.
Thank you so much. So the first thing I want to say is you guys do so much more than what you're saying. You are always out there. Jaylee, you are the Killingly ambassador to Killingly, as I said to you.
Mhm.
You guys make people want to come here, and when they go to one of your events, they want to come back. And as a small nonprofit owner, I am out, like, I love doing your events. And you guys promote all your businesses, your nonprofits, like, you guys do an amazing job. So just thank you. And
Thank you.
I'm so happy you came, because I don't think just some of the town councilors, as well as know exactly how much you guys do.
Right.
So thank you so much, and I will see you Thursday.
Yes, you will at our meeting. Thank you.
Questions, comments from council?
I would just say that was a well-polished presentation.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I get very excited to talk about the KBA, so it was pretty easy to put together.
Any other questions, comments?
So nobody else? Okay, I'll go again.
Yeah, I just wanted to touch on one more piece, but you go ahead.
No, you go first.
I just wanted to, I also put together a little information about public safety. So as KBA president, as a business owner, I'm boots on the ground right here on Main Street. As a realtor, I'm hearing, the stories and the negative narrative that goes around for people that I've either already rented to or people that are thinking about coming to set up shop. So I just put together a few notes. The KBA is passionate about ensuring our business owners, patrons, and community remain safe and have a pleasant experience in our town, whether they are just passing by or setting up shop here. We have experienced growing concerns which have created a negative narrative for our beautiful town we have worked so hard to revitalize, particularly on our Main Street. We have lost business because of incidents they cannot recover from, which is heartbreaking to hear and see. With Main Street's high vacancy rates diminishing over these last several years, we feel it's important to continue this trend by ensuring new safety measures. We know of a lot of incidents that have happened. There's things that people probably don't know that happen. I mean, I've had people climb on my roof. I've had people looking in my tenants' windows, trying to get in my attic. One business that just left had his porta potty turned over, things being arranged, missing. People go to the ATM and are solicited. People drive through the drive-thru at Bank Hometown and they're solicited. The list goes on and on. I've had people come into my building, into my apartment hallway, inebriated, We call the PD. They're always extremely responsive. They're there. They handle the situation. But sometimes it's over before they can handle it, and then it's happening again the next night. So these are conversations that we've had with the PD. We would really like to see some more things be implemented. We would love to see cameras. As a business owner, I have cameras inside. I had to add cameras into some of my tenants' windows to kind of see what's going on my property. But, we've had a lot of conversations about that, and it would really eliminate some things that are happening. People would know that the cameras are up. It would promote safety. If you're not doing anything wrong, you're not concerned. But if you are, you're telling your buddy who's doing something wrong, and on it goes. And I just feel that for the business owners, they're going to feel safer. They're going to feel protected. When I'm showing, some of the vacancies, that's the first thing they're saying, well, is it safe down here? Well, yeah, and the PD is aware and very responsible. But then they're hearing stories. and they know things are slipping through the cracks. And we've lost, like I said, we've lost business because of it, and it's such a shame. But even when people are looking at the vacant units, they're like, well, I heard this and I heard that. So it really becomes a deterrent to them. And how do we change that? And how do we implement new things so that people do feel safe, doing business here, setting up shop here? We don't want all those vacancies that we had, and we just lost 4. So it's challenging. It's challenging. And like I said, being here, I see it. Once we all close up at 4 or 5, the games begin, if you will. So it's hard because the traffic slows down. So as the KBA, we're willing to have skin in the game. We're open to conversations. Business owners are open to, allowing their electricity and Wi-Fi to be available for camera systems. Whatever we can do, we're here to have those conversations. Our job is to promote our business, and we got to make them feel safe. And they don't.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because that's what I was gonna bring up.
Yeah.
So, thank you
Yeah.
for putting that out there, because I think a lot of people that live outside the borough and are not business
Mhm.
owners don't really understand what's going on.
Right, and I
The
think,
cameras are really important.
yeah, when you're here, you see things that others don't see. We're here every day, so we've got stories. And we like to erase those stories and get that positive narrative out that. I mean, and we did, when an incident happened, we got together and we did put out, a press release on Winnie, to make things look positive, because as soon as that piece of negativity gets out, it's like wildfire, and they're thinking of Killingly, 8-10 years ago when things were vacant. The last 5 years, I bought my building in January of 2020, and, there was nobody. There was me, and everything around me was empty, and Deb's place, right? And there was just no foot traffic, and slowly we grew and grew and grew, and look now, it's amazing. We need to retain that.
So just to, kind of add to this, we did at one point in time get some information around installation of cameras along Main Street. We still do have that information. We've recently reached back out to find out whether or not pricing would be the same. So we do have that. We are going to be incorporating that for potential consideration. But that, so that we have been trying to gather more of that information based on our conversations.
So you thinking individual cameras, that's what you're looking for each business? Or are you looking for the flock system, or what were you?
Open to whatever, yeah. I mean, I'd like to see multiple cameras. I mean, I'm thinking just in my section, 3 or 4 would make sense, just in this kind of first block, if you will, right, to Center Street. I mean, you're thinking, okay, in those directions, you've got the Town Hall, you've got Academy Street, you've got me, you've got all those buildings, Danielson Surplus, you could tuck several cameras. You know where the blind spots are, kind of the hidden spots are, alleyways, things like that. So if, whether it be 3 or 4 or whatever, the professionals think if they're shining in those directions, I think that's beneficial. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense, but how would you incorporate the town into the cameras?
My understanding is the town can have the feed. We wouldn't monitor them. We would just allow them on our buildings, pay for the Wi-Fi and electricity, just to know that the safety measure is there, and then let it go to the powers that be.
You would have she would have no access
No,
to the camera.
no.
So the feed would go to the police department, would go to the law enforcement, and again, it's not like we would have somebody, so again, obviously security measures, but, staff-wise, it's not like you have somebody sitting there, monitoring and watching, right? But at the same time, they would have access to that information. So it would only be held and housed by law enforcement.
And then if something happened, then
They would obviously have
evidence.
full access to that, correct.
And I can,
That'd be a massive data storage.
Not necessarily. I mean, we currently have, it's far fewer cameras that we actually already have here within the town hall even. So we already have camera systems within our town hall, our highway department, our library, at the transfer station. So we have a number of camera systems already. We have cameras at Owen Bell. You know, so we have a fair amount of cameras already. It's not as much data storage. There's, you don't, you know, depending on what you have for a retention process, it's really not what you're thinking it to be. But what was proposed initially along Main Street was fewer cameras than we currently have just within this building itself.
Yeah, 'cause I have 8 cameras and it's 20 terabytes, and that lasts me 24 days.
Right. We would have off-site retention, so it's not a matter of housing the retention or the data specifically here within ours. We have access to large-scale server processes that we would house that at. And again, we have, you know, it's fewer than what we have for just this one building.
Right, so the business has really nothing to do with it, if you will, other than being a host. But again, promoting the safety for all the businesses and new to come is really our angle from KBA.
Gotcha.
And I had spoke with the town manager previously, because I threw the idea out there about going solar. And I guess because of the shade of the buildings and the direction of the sunlight, that we wouldn't be able to support, you wouldn't have enough sunlight to support running the cameras 24 hours.
But your businesses are
Yeah.
offering to
Yeah.
utilize their electric. So it's
Well,
not like the
I-
town would be paying for
Yeah.
that.
Well,
anyway.
I was thinking as far as ease of installation, that way you're not running wire into the building.
Understood.
That's why I had asked about the possibility
Mhm.
of going solar.
We have at least 10 businesses on Main Street that would be willing,
Mhm.
who are very interested, so that would cover the area.
And
I'm sure.
That you know of, it's
That we know
probably all
of,
of
yeah,
them.
who have come to meetings.
It's quite amazing when people realize there's cameras. That
Absolutely, absolutely. Just an added layer of safety.
So I spoke with another town leader, another district, and they have done this. It was not cost prohibitive, and it's definitely a deterrent to any issues in their downtown area, and the businesses have been very happy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's brought back foot traffic, so I
Yeah, that's
think
great.
this is a great idea.
And me personally, I look at two possible benefits of it. If it's a deterrent, which 99% of people are going to tell you it's going to be, you're dealing with less crime. That's less that law enforcement has to deal with.
Right.
That frees them up to deal with other things. And not only that, also having the camera system, being able to use that as a tool for law enforcement, it can cut down on the amount of time they spend on an investigation, shorten the time period to figure out
Sure.
exactly what happened, and be able to identify who's been involved. So I can see from that aspect, and I've actually spoken with my sister who spent many years in law enforcement. And, she feels the same way, that
Yeah.
having cameras is definitely an asset for law enforcement.
It's a win-win.
Another thing is, as you spoke, return on investment
Mhm.
for the KBA members and just what you guys bring to the table. We've already lost, what'd you say, 4?
4.
We don't want to lose any more.
Right.
So
Right.
it's definitely an investment.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless of the cost, it's an investment in the community, and it makes people feel safe, and they want to come here. And, you know,
Yes.
shopping downtown, you don't want to, you know, go into a business and then be solicited while you're.
And it
looking
was
at
happening,
something.
yeah,
It's
I
very
mean,
uncomfortable. It's happened to me. It's very uncomfortable.
One of our businesses that left, before they left with an incident, their students were being solicited every day, just trying to walk to their car in the evening to leave class. And so, you know, students were starting to diminish. So, yeah, it's difficult. I mean, and obviously our PD is wonderful, but they can't be everywhere all the time. So to lessen that, as you said, you know, it's going to be very beneficial to them as well. And to be able to tell those business owners, hey, you know, here's an added layer of a safety measure. They're going to say, oh, that's great, you know, because our Main Street is unique. We have a lot of residential mixed with our commercial, so it's unique. There's more people, right? And so, you know, right away, people think, oh, this is different, this is unique. So it just gives everybody that added layer of safety.
I've got a question. This is probably for Mary. Oh, you guys probably know too, very knowledgeable. But I saw that there was some new legislation coming out saying that and it may not come out, but it was proposed that you can't interfere with somebody who's soliciting and the homeless and on and on and on. What is our town policy for solicitation?
So that is really relating to panhandling. So we don't allow panhandling on public grounds. That being said, I'm aware of that legislation, and I've had some conversations with CCM and COST. There's a lot of concerns around the implications of that. It doesn't really sound like there's a huge amount of traction around that. But the intent around that legislation was being able to provide some avenues or safety nets, if you will, around homeless or housing instability individuals. We're really advocating for the investment to be in more permanent solutions, which is really providing that pathway into housing versus kind of creating this further challenge to the community by that. So yeah, we don't allow that.
Other questions from council members? Do you have anything further for us?
No, just thank you. It was a pleasure to be here tonight. We look forward to working with you all in the future. Appreciate the time.
Thank you very much.
We'll now move on the agenda. Next item up is item 6B, meeting with Board of Rec and staff, Bucky Lobush.
Come on, Mike.
Come on, Mike.
Come on, Mike, get up here.
I have a PP as well, but it's not a PowerPoint, it's pen and paper presentation.
Well, there's that. Bucky, are you old?
I'm very old school. Yeah, I know. Okay, good evening. I just want to go over a couple things before you guys want to ask questions to any of my board members. First of all, Melissa Phillips, our chair, couldn't be here. As you all recall, every Tuesday she has class in the evening, so she was unable to attend. So Holly and Mike LaHoo are here from my board to answer any questions. First thing, I just want to do a little review of what's been going on. First thing I wanted to say, and this is not a knock, we are thrilled, okay? So our last rec board meeting was our first meeting that we had a representative from the Board of Ed. And I've been here, I'm going on 3 years. This is the first time we've had a rep. So, and again, this is not a knock, we are thrilled. We had a lot of good back and forth conversation. And it was Kevin Marcoux, actually, who is the representative that's on recreation now. And he's made a point of saying that he's going to be coming to our meeting. So we are really thrilled so that we can get that coordination. Because we do a lot with the Board of Ed, whether it's, using gym space or building space. So, so that was good. We're really excited about that. The second thing is, you guys mentioned legislative bills that have come forward, and this is the first time I've actually had to get our rec board involved. We had 2 bills that came to the table that I belong to. My whole staff belongs to Connecticut Recreation Parks Association, and the president had come to me. They send emails out, mass emails to all the directors to try to oppose a couple bills. The first one was to not allow 16 and 17-year-olds to be able to work at summer camps. And that was going to affect, obviously, our summer camp program. I kind of thought that it was the private sector kind of going sideways, because every year I'm always getting the bill that opposes licensing. But then 3 days later, I received that bill as being asking us to oppose. So they are still trying to have municipalities be licensed. And that would be very costly to us if we had to go that route.
And the state doesn't have the manpower to go through and license all of these summer camps either. So they've come out and said that they don't have the ability to license all the summer camps. And so, this would be like license them like a daycare, like a home, like, our home daycares and our daycare centers and stuff like that. And there's a big difference between home daycares and daycare centers and municipal summer camps. There's far more layers of supervision and oversight on a municipal summer camp than there is on a private entity doing a daycare, either a home daycare or a daycare center, right? Those are generally for-profit industries. This is nonprofit. There is not just the direct supervision of the staff, but there is also, here in Killingly, there's a professional town management, there's the town council, there's the board of rec, right? There is a lot of layers of supervision that a traditional home daycare or daycare center doesn't have in this process. And, that's one of their angles is that, they want to provide state supervision. The state has already said they don't even have the ability to go out and license the locations in the time frame with all of the municipalities that do summer camps. There's no way for them to meet that licensing. But every year, we see this bill come up, every year.
Who's promoting, what kind of entities are promoting that bill? What?
It's largely the private entities.
Private
So
sector.
Private people, they're complaining that they're under scrutiny and that the governmental towns are not.
Right, but we have more layers that you have to go through.
Right, I'm just
Yeah.
looking at who's bringing this forward. You gotta look at
Yes.
where that's coming from and,
I will also add that I also called Mayflex's office and gave them the two bills. And then I was fortunate enough, I had actually gone to a youth hoop basketball game. It was one of the last ones that we were going to have. And I was evaluating, and Ann Dolphinet was there, and I was able to, she was generous with giving me a half hour of her time. We ended up speaking for a while about both bills. So I was thrilled to be able to touch base with both, senator and a representative to try to add to to our concerns. And actually, both of them were kind of against it as well. So they understand, what's at risk here. And mostly it's about cost, let's face it. And so we try to keep our costs down, especially for summer camp, with a licensing, having a physician, and having to have a nurse. You're talking about raising fees tremendously. So to the point where I don't think families could afford to go to camp. I mean, our summer camp is $725 for 6 weeks. You do the math on the hours, per rate per hour, and you can't really beat it right now. So, and we have people that struggle. That's why we have a scholarship program. So especially people that have more than one child, to come up with that much money for 6 weeks is very difficult. The other thing that we have added, so we meet every other month for the rec board. So one of the things that the rec board's asked of me, and I started this past month for the first time. So on the off months, I am now giving an update at the end of the month on things that are happening that they might not know about. So, sorry, I'm going to use you as an example, but when Mary, resigned, they wouldn't find that out until next month if they weren't paying attention to what's going on in town. So that was one example, but there's been other examples in the past where I've gone to a meeting and they're like, well, when did this happen? And I was like, well, last month, but we don't have a meeting last month. So, so I've added that. Every other month I send out an email, a mass email to all the members, and I update them on either programming or anything that might be important that they need to know moving for the next meeting forward. I just wanted to go over a few program things that we've been doing before you ask any questions. So we just completed our Youth Hoop program, 357 kids in the program. We had lucky 2 years in a row now we haven't had a snow out. So all 8 weeks we were able to run our Youth Hoop games. We also, all of our exercise classes for the first time are full with waiting list. We are excited about the fact that we're moving to Westfield because the rooms are going to be bigger. We will be able to take more participants, so we're excited about that. The spring events that are going on, I know you heard about them. We have the Egg Hunt Davis on April 19th at 10 o'clock. We're going to be doing a bike rodeo again in conjunction with the police force over at Owen Bell Park. That's going to be in May. We're doing April vacation programs again. Our indoor drumming circle, we have one more coming up in March. I'll be here next week. We're going to be giving awards out as well for some of those volunteers. So we're excited about that. Fireworks sponsorship letters. Excited to announce that we're looking for $18,000 to raise for the fireworks. We do have 2 title sponsors this year so far. We might have a third. With those 2 title sponsors, we've already raised close to $15,000, which is very early in the game. So we're excited about that.
Want to talk about fireworks for next year, the following year? Because that's the scary one.
Yes. So as you guys remember, we have the 250th celebration. So you don't think about, because we haven't had this year's fireworks, but that the budget that I'm putting in for actually is for that celebration. So I know it's going to be a tough decision to make, but I did put in for a large sum of money that we'd like to do something pretty special the night of the fireworks. And it would include some extra things for the fireworks, but it would include a little higher level of entertainment at Owen Bell Park, along with a lot of things we want to put up around for that one event. So we got to think about that, and hopefully, the budget passes and we can get that and make that thing happen. If not, again, as you know, we raise all the funds for all the fireworks and the entertainment for that evening. That's a cost of about $18,000. So, and the fire will tell you, as I think I told you this before, that the fireworks every year have gone up, and they will be going up again next year. So that number goes, we were, when I first came here, I think I was at 15 I had to raise. Now we're at 18. We're going to be closing out on 20,000 at some point. So we do have some new businesses which have donated, which is awesome. So we are reaching out. And those are some exciting things. Couple more things that we've been so talk about raising funds. So unfortunately, they're so close together, but there's a lot of passion in the town with us, a lot of the businesses. So our letters for scholarship fund for summer camp are going out this month. So it's kind of almost like a back-to-back to the businesses. But we do have some businesses that feel that is as important as that one-day celebration is to see kids being able to go to camp. So we usually raise between $7,000 and $10,000 every year for scholarship funds. We usually scholarship between 18 and 20 kids. So whether they're partials or full, depending on their situation, which is exciting. So we want to keep that going. We also are working with our senior group. We did some town talks. I don't know if you guys had seen those being advertised. Our first one was with our town manager. We actually had a full house at the community center in the cafeteria, and it was awesome. There were a lot of questions asked, obviously. The second one was myself and Anthony. It was a breakfast. We had about 35 people there, and again, yes, you did. Yes, she did sell out, but it was a lunch. It was pizza. We were giving out bagels and bananas, so
It was late enough in the day.
Yes.
See?
But we're also going to have our town police come 1 month. We're going to have one of our senior instructors is going to come 1 month. And we are open to a town council member ever coming. I will tell you, people have a lot of questions, even the seniors. It was amazing how many questions that they came up with. A lot of them are very interested in what's going on or what will be going on at Westfield Avenue, which is, very exciting.
It was a great conversation. It really
Yeah.
was. So that hour went by so fast.
Yeah.
Is that why Mo was asking me if I was?
Yes, yes.
It was truly, really a great conversation.
Yep. And so again, I'm working with the senior agent on those programs. LIR was mentioned tonight, right? They're starting this month with their classes at the community center. So we're excited about that. And, I point to Holly because Holly's our theater director, graciously has let us be in the theater with that program even while we're trying to get shows ready. So we're excited about utilizing that space. I think the first program is going to have like close to 100 people. So we're excited, to have that many seniors coming in. Biggest concern, parking. But that's going to change eventually when we get to Westfield. So we're excited. Theater. We have Wizard of Oz coming up. Going to be a great show. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
So Wizard of Oz has a cast of 68 people. It's one of our larger shows this year. It runs the first 2 weeks in April. I hope to see you all there. If you've never seen one of our community theater shows, I would welcome you to come out and just see how many talented young people, older people. I mean, it really spans the whole community. And they're just so talented. They put so much effort in. We spend 12 plus weeks working on a show. You should definitely come out and support the creative, talented people in our community.
If I can, Holly, you guys do a phenomenal job.
Thank
I
you.
come to your events, and I will say I am so thankful and so impressed that you also put on a sensory-friendly show.
Yeah.
There's so many times that we probably wouldn't have been able to participate in some of those just because of the overwhelmingness sometimes of the show, and you guys do a phenomenal job. And the talent that is in this community is just mind-blowing. So again, I always say, if you guys haven't caught one of their shows yet, caught one of their productions, make the time. It is just wonderful to participate, to be there and see it.
We are one of the only theaters in our area that offers a sensory-friendly production. We try to offer it for every show that we do. Some shows aren't necessarily appropriate for it, but this year we've offered it for every show that we've done. This is our 6th show this year. And we have just a range of folks that come to enjoy those performances. It started out very small, but it's really picking up traction. And we have families with small children who maybe their child just couldn't sit through a 2-hour show. And we have people with some significant sensory needs that really just would be too overwhelmed sitting in a traditional theater setting. During our Christmas show, we had a woman who stopped me and said, my son has loved musical theater since he was little, and he's an adult now, he's in his 40s. And she said, I've never been able to take him to see a show. And he watches Broadway HD, which is a theater nerd's version of YouTube. And he just knows all of the songs, and this was the first show he's ever been able to go to. And she said, this is life-changing for us. And I don't think people really recognize, the gap that theater and musical theater can bridge for our community, and just offering the opportunity to everyone to come and enjoy a show.
I went to the Sousaphide Christmas Carol because I love the Christmas Carol, but that was, I wasn't quite sure what to expect. And to be frank and honest, I almost fell asleep because that was the day after the state championship game and the Reese event, and I actually sat down on the couch, which was probably the worst thing I could have did. But I woke up in time. I was like, oh man, do I really? Yeah, I really should go, and I really did enjoy it.
It was a lot of fun.
It was definitely. I don't think Dr. Seuss always makes things so interesting.
Yes.
So I wanted to say thank you for doing the sensory shows too, because I talked to Bucky about this. I'm trying to get my little guy involved, and he has trouble with loud noises. So he passed on doing The Wizard of Oz. I couldn't get him to even think about it, but I'm going to bring him to that show so
Great.
he gets to see what it's all about,
Mhm.
and maybe next year we can get him in.
Yeah.
So thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
Thank you for all you guys do. We just went and saw the Catnip Junkies.
Oh,
Jamie
yeah.
dragged me out.
Excuse you.
Recovering from surgery, and I went anyway. What a
Such a fun
phenomenal-
show. Yeah.
Great. You guys do so much.
So the other show that's coming up too will be Snow White down the road. Changing gears, just want to talk a little bit about, just give you some ideas of some of the capital projects we're working on. Owen Bell Park, we're going to be redoing the track. And understand we're working in conjunction with a lot of, with the highway department again, for a lot of the work to be done in-house. We're going to be improving on the skate park. Skate park needs some upgrades and some improvements. The baseball field, at least the infield, needs to be redone. That's been on the list. You will see shade shelters. Well, I'll say that one fast. That are going to be going up in the upper lot near the splash pad. We're going to be doing some splash pad upgrades to the existing splash pad. We still want to get in that toddler splash pad in addition to the one that we already have. We're working with the high school. They have been raising money to put dugouts for the softball field for the girls softball team. So we're working with them as well. Davis Park, we're going to be putting in all new benches except for the one that just got donated by the Quiet Corner Lions. Most of the other ones that are going to be going in are going to look similar to that one. And Highway's going to be also doing some of the walkways over again at Davis Park. And then we're looking into some of the gazebo is starting to need some tender love. And so we're trying to get some quotes for repairs on that. And then the big one, obviously, down the line is Lions Park needs a complete redo. And that, believe it or not, the park is used a lot by the homeschoolers in that area of where Lions Park is near Lewis Boulevard. A lot of kids are down there playing. So that's just a little bit of what's going on. The other thing, we always talk about, we do, programming and all of these things. I just received a letter. I'm not going to read it. It's long, but this is from Friends of Assisi's Food Pantry. It was just a letter. I will read it at the next rec board meeting. It was just a thank you. So anytime they're ever in need and we find out about it, we always set something up at the community center to help them out. We've done it with peanut butter when they were short on peanut butter. This time they were short on boxes of cereal. And so we brought 2 truckloads. People had come and were very awesome in donating, and all our employees donated as well. And then we go down there and we deliver it for them. So it's just a little side thing that we try to help in the community. So
You also do the toy,
toy drive as well, yes.
and that serviced how many families?
There was over 63 families that received toys this Christmas. And again, that's our third thing that we ask for money from the businesses for. And so the businesses have been very gracious in doing that. We raised over $10,000 for toys, and we go out and buy them. And then we have people that just come in and donate brand-new toys as well. So, yeah, and that's going to continue. And that's only going to grow. And I also want to say, before you ask any questions, we have a lot of homeless, you heard about a lot of homeless people, right? Just tonight, while theater's going on with all those kids practicing, while Pound's going on, we had probably 4 or 5 homeless people that were in our center, just sitting there, staying warm. And we have them in the morning. They've been coming and taking showers as well at the community center. It was a little contentious at first, just because we talk about cameras. We have cameras as well, but we have young kids, and unfortunately in our men's shower room, it's like a gang shower. So there's no way of hiding. So we try to time it so that people can be private a little bit about it. So there's certain hours of the day where we've had to kind of cut it off so that they're not intermixing with some of the youths that are in there, like their youth hoop. But overall, I think they're either going to the town hall during the day or the library. And then when these establishments are closing, because we're open until 8 o'clock, they're coming to the community center and they're staying there until they can go to the shelter at 8 o'clock. So I think we have it covered. I know we're supposed to do this till March 14th. Obviously, it's going to be weather permitting, but we're open to everybody. And we work with John Chapman as well. Sometimes he'll contact me and say, hey, does anybody need a free meal? We're going to be serving free meals. So we keep in communication, so which is good. And I guess the last thing I want to say, that vision committee, I didn't hear one person that sounded like they had a private agenda about their own. And God bless you that you got to pick certain ones, but I thought they were all great, to be honest with you, which is really nice. That's hard to find. Usually you'll have someone who comes in and has something they want for themselves to benefit from, and it didn't sound like not one person was interested. It seemed like they're interested in the town being better, so, which is awesome.
Thank you. I will open up to council members' comments. Mr. Grandelsky.
Parking at Owen Bell. How do we, it comes up after the fact, we hear about the 4th of July, the parking was rough, people are parking all over the place, the fire marshal is really, it's like, we can't get equipment in if there was an emergency. Is there any place to go to add additional parking over there?
So,
how have you looked at that? Is there any?
So the 4th of July celebration is a whole different animal compared to other events, regular events.
And you wouldn't create parking
Yeah.
at Olin Bell
4th of
to
July,
accommodate the 4th of July celebration.
They're all over.
Right, I mean, that's just
They're everywhere.
massive.
But in general.
The biggest issue is where Ra-Ra's is, right? That small little parking lot. That's where most of it gets jammed up. And that's either, whether it's the celebration for fireworks, or if, one of the things we've changed, and I said I would do that, we don't allow the school teams and the soccer league and all of those groups to come down in Little League all at the same time. So there's just not enough space to accommodate for all of that. So you can't have a high school baseball game and a high school softball game going on while Nikon Soccer is practicing on a soccer field, while Killingly Little League wants to do, their big event during the high school event that's going on. So that just can't happen. There's just too many people. You're basically creating the fireworks situation all over again. And for those events, people won't park across the street for just a normal ball game. So I've worked with the highway director. We're talking about eventually moving fields. Again, I saw you in the hallway that day. That Little League complex is going to be moved, and I know everybody's thinking, well, what are you talking about? That's near the sewer plant. Well, they also have a field at Owen Bell, and it'd be great if we could get the entire complex over at the Davis property. then they wouldn't have that issue. And I think that would open up your parking area.
Okay, well, I like that. That's, well, I got to get traction on moving to the Davis property to get the sewer plant going, and, you know, and I get negativity because of where are we going to go? At least the Davis property is available. I don't know how far along the Davis property is. We're still taking the gravel out and whatnot, but it's going to have to put more pressure there. But so if we could take, I didn't realize that we were looking at Owen Bell moving some of that down there. I have no problem with that. That's good.
Yeah.
Because we have something to create down at the Davis property. It's in a creative stage, so we can make, hopefully, well, I guess there's some vernal pools and some other stuff down at the Davis property, but the fields and associated parking, that we're having fields down there, but no one throws out the parking scenario. So I don't know how to.
Well, that's part of it. You have to have parking.
Right, how do we?
Down there, and so that's that's part of the component of planning. So, you know, Alec and Dave and Alec in engineering have, you know, drafted some conceptuals around making sure you could place the correct number and the correct size of fields on the Davis property with appropriate parking that would be accessible. And you also have to deal with the topographical change, right? The grade change from the Route 12 area down to where those fields would be, and how would the drive access be? How do you make that accessible? Because the vernal pool is up towards the Route 12 top area, which is why you would leave that section of the property largely unmodified, and that would be more the drive access to get down to where the graveled area has been, where you would largely have your fields and your parking. And that would also alleviate or eliminate, I know there's a lot of concern around having the access to that property off of one of the neighborhoods, right? None of the neighborhoods are gonna wanna see all of the Little League traffic coming in and out of their neighborhood. So putting it off of Route 12 really makes it that accessible component. It would tee up with one of the other corresponding side roads like Taft Street or Waterman would be potential tee up locations for having access.
Well, how far along are we with the gravel operation to get to this?
Thanks, Jonathan. No, it's all right. You're good.
You know, what is the gravel operation?
So we've been in regular communications with the gravel operator. They know that we have, more immediate plans to move. They've recently started their kind of final phase area of graveling on that location. We're trying to, work with them as far as understanding what final grade would look like, so they can start preparing areas that they're completed with, to be able to get it to more of what we're looking for initial grade. Obviously, the installation of the fields would be the town's responsibility. We have a separate fund for that, but they could get it to a grade area that we won't have to do a lot of rework to. So there's.
Have they been given some sort of a time frame?
We haven't given us hard deadline yet, because we're still, working through our components as well. But they know that, we have only a couple of years. So, it's not like they have 20 years.
Now I'm hearing with this, I'm looking at, I want to push the button to get it going a little bit, or whatever can.
Yeah,
happen out there.
but I think, in order to realistically have as much space as possible, that's something that we have to balance here. Being able to make sure that there's as much space as possible out there in order for it to be done includes removing the gravel and removing that material in order to be able to make as much space as possible for the Little League field. Because once you start putting fields down there, you're done, right?
That's
like,
right.
that's as much materials as coming out. So we need to have really good communications. And so our engineering staff has been having regular communication with the operator. So that way we can make sure we're timing appropriately. They know what our timelines are and how quick to move material.
So this would move a lot of pressure take some of the pressure up Owen Bell, move it down there. So that's going to be another place that, good. And then we got Cat Hollow. Cat Hollow's been moving up in the priority. It seemed like Owen Bell was the top. Cat Hollow is picking up. If people can't, if it's no parking, whatever, at Owen Bell, they're going down to Cat Hollow. That's another area of parking concern. I don't know what we can maybe open more of that road up a little bit or do something down there.
Well, we're having more and more volunteers who want to join us to really get that park looking.
Well, you got
It
the
looks
Master-
tremendous
the
now.
Master Gardener people are
Correct.
in there, and so yes, that's getting more exposure, and parking seems to be a problem. I don't know where.
Right.
I guess you can't go way down below.
We have openings on both sides. It seems like there's more potential on the opposite side for parking, potentially. But that's a tough spot. That is a tough spot.
But that's what I'm saying. Parking at everywhere. Parking is a problem.
But I will say that the Little League field, I wouldn't be sitting here today if it wasn't for Danielson Little League, if it wasn't for Killingley High School baseball. I played from the age of 7 all the way into college. And my father worked hard as a volunteer to get those fields ready so that I could play on opening day along with other volunteers. And we're going to make sure they have what they need when they move. And it's not going to be, they're not going to have a place to play until it's done. No, they're going to be playing until that project's completed. And that includes concessions, bathrooms, everything they have now. So if they're concerned, they shouldn't be, because we're going to make sure that gets
Because
done.
like over here now, we got the water is from.
That's a
Hutchinson.
challenge.
Yeah,
That's
it's
a
not-
challenge.
It's not there, but then we got to do a well or whatever else. Well, no, is that?
So those are
That
all
is
components.
adjacent. That's adjacent to Connecticut water, so we're gonna have to use city water over there.
Possibly.
'Cause
Doesn't
that's-
necessarily mean that we will have to.
But
But
no.
those are all part of the planning.
So.
There's a lot that's
Oh
going to
no,
go into
that's
it.
why I didn't hear much about parking in your presentation, so I want to up the ante a little bit more. That's.
That will help at Owen Bell. That will give an opportunity to make it much bigger. We can't think that we're ever going to get those 2 pieces of property that the houses are on until they come to us and ask us to buy the property. We're just not going to take it from them. So at this point, that's one of the options would be to eliminate that baseball field, that Little League field. That will give you a lot more parking.
So. I guess I'll let somebody else jump in.
Other questions, comments?
I will say kudos to your summer camps regulations or requirements. I've been working with you guys and Putnam Recreation for training purposes, and I can honestly say you guys are the only ones that train everybody from your counselors in training all the way to leadership staff in first aid and CPR every year. And I don't think you guys have ever had any real major incidences.
Not since I've been here. I mean, in my 24 years, I can't say that, but yes, we've done very well. I will say, I always say to you guys, when I was here before, right, back in the 90s, we had a nurse. We used to have summer camp at Owen Bell Park, but then again, Owen Bell was not what it is today. You can't have summer camp at Owen Bell. It's impossible. There's just too many people during the day. There was no splash pad. There was no skate park. The Land of Oz didn't exist. It was a small playscape, but we didn't, and we went to different areas of the fields for summer camp. We had, back then there was an after school program, summer school program, but they only went half a day and then they came to our camp. And so that's why we had so many kids back then. We had 200 kids when I was a camp director. Yeah. So we had once we didn't need a camp nurse anymore, then we started certifying our staff with first aid CPR. And some of the staff have to have injectable certification as well, med certification, so.
Thank you.
Westfield Avenue.
Yep.
Where are we with that? Or do we wait that for another meeting?
Do you want me to give an update, or you got it?
Sure, you're almost done, so go ahead.
So Westfield Avenue, they are in the process of, they're going through the process of completing the windows. The roof is largely completed. There's still some work to be done up on the roof. Brick repointing has been completed. They still needs to do some sealing on some of the sections. The interior renovations, they have, they've made progress on the interior renovations. There's a lot of work that's still to be done. There are, initial end date was in June. I'm not 100% positive that we're going to make a June date for completion, for substantial completion, I should say, because it's not really intended for full completion. That may end up getting delayed into later in the summer. I know that the Permanent Building Commission is going to be, they had, when we initially started this project, when we initially scoped this project, we did not include the heating system replacement, because at the time, the information that we had received from the building maintenance department at the school had indicated that the system was functioning well and that there wasn't a need for replacement. We did have some evaluation done of it at the time. Since then, we've had, a lot of, kind of moving around of pipes and stuff like that. We did abate the tunnels, which included the removal of all the insulation of the steam piping. The project does include re-wrapping the steam piping. However, we have not taken that step yet for two different reasons. One, there are some challenges with the heating system, and if the town is going to look to replace the heating system, now is the cheapest it'll ever get. So that project has had a fair amount of savings with regards to from budget to actual. When we've had bids come in, bids have come in a lot lower. And so there is money savings within the budget within the project itself that could be designated to use for replacing the heating system, but it's not enough to fully cover the replacement of a heating system. So the question, and I don't have any of those numbers at this moment. They're going to be meeting tomorrow night. Information will come out of that meeting. And I suspect that whether it's next week or sometime in April, there might be a request from the Permanent Building Commission for the council to consider additional funds towards that project in order to replace a heating system within the building. The other option is that doesn't happen, and we rewrap the pipes and we continue with the system that we have, but knowing that system will likely need to get replaced in the next 5 years. That's really kind of what you're looking at for that. But if that were to take place, if the town were to move forward with the replacement of the heating system, that would be almost like a phase 3 of this project. Right now we're in phase 2 of the project. That would be a phase 3. Whether or not that could be accomplished over the summer, I'm not certain that would be able to happen. That may be something that gets handled in a different timeline, especially since that building not only right now is currently occupied by the Board of Education and a special education program. Going into next fall, not only will it be occupied by the Board of Education, it will also still be occupied by a special education program, which has different needs than just a standard classroom type setting. And you'll also have the community center over there. So those are all things to take into account. The one good thing is that there's not necessarily an immediate high pressure to move the community center over immediately under a certain timeline to that facility. You do have flexibility around that, right? So you can choose to keep the community center where it's at until you get further through any other infrastructure replacements at the Westfield Avenue property. And then that does provide some flexibility on that and a little bit of relief valve there. There is a fair amount of additional work that needs to be done within the auditorium itself. You know, one of the things that we determined, as we were going through this process, that was unknown to us in the very beginning, was that we were unaware that the entire sound system had been essentially removed from the facility, as well as the lighting is not usable. So we have to replace the lighting, we have to replace the sound system. There's some other components. There's, in order for it to be utilized, for the stage area to be utilized in a production, we have to upgrade some of the fire systems to include an audible addressable system, which basically means that if, say you're in the middle of a concert and they're playing music and a fire alarm goes off, it cuts out the sound of everything for the alarm system to go on so people can hear that there's a fire alarm going on and people know that they have to exit the building, right? So that has to be addressed. So it's an addressable fire alarm system within the auditorium. So there's some components. There are, we have had expressed interest from a philanthropic donor that is willing to contribute towards some of these. That's helping to offset some of the cost of the auditorium. They're very impressed with the community theater program that functions and wants to support that going forward. And so we're very blessed for that. But those are some other things that may end up taking a little bit longer than a June entrance date, if you will, into the Westfield Avenue property.
So we need the philanthropic donations. We're going into budget season. I don't want to do a supplemental appropriation, but can we, if they're having a meeting, are they looking at budget numbers to make all this happen? Or how is?
I
this-
suspect that the Permanent Building Commission is going to be it would be making a request for the town council to either incorporate. I think honestly, they would be asking for the town council to do an appropriation of either unallocated capital funds or a supplemental an appropriation from fund balance
Yes,
for
yes.
the capital project specifically, outside of the budgetary process, because in order for this to meet timing, it likely cannot wait to get through the budget process. So they would be looking for a fund balance appropriation likely through the next upcoming months. But I'm not entirely positive. I need to get that information from them. But it may not be just requesting a fund balance appropriation through the budget process, which then becomes available on July 1. They likely need to go out to bid and start getting under contract before July 1 in order to be able to meet timing and not have to undo stuff that they're already are projected to work on.
I don't know the right question to ask.
Did I get that right, Kevin? Okay. You've listened to all these at the Permanent Building Commission meeting, and
Right.
I think that's pretty fair.
accurate.
Pretty accurate.
So what kind of, well, if we have to go to fund balance to make this happen, outside of the normal budgetary process, that's,
A supplemental appropriation. Another alternative that the council may wish to consider, which I would have to explore, is, the reutilization of the ARPA funds that was designated to reduce the borrowing capacity of this project, and rather change that to just be supplementally appropriated to the project. That would then likely cover your additional gap needed for the infrastructure. But that would be something that the council would have to determine, and then that's not a supplemental appropriation from fund balance. And that is utilizing ARPA funds for infrastructure investment. And I will say right now that the ARPA funds that would be available for this in reducing debt, while I get it sounds great, you're reducing the amount that you're borrowing. It is not going to make that much difference in the overall grand scheme of a debt service package, and what it's going to cost in any mill rate, debt service payment and ultimate mill rate impact if you were to decide to take that $1.5 million and put it towards a heating system upgrade. You're going to save more in energy costs by putting it into a heating system. But that would be another alternative for consideration.
But weren't the ARPA funds supposed to be spent by?
You've already allocated to the Westfield Avenue project, but you've specifically said it had to be used to reduce debt service. It didn't increase scope. You could very easily say that it's the Westfield Avenue project. We've already expended the money. That's fine. It's expended, but it no longer has to be used only solely to reduce debt service. It could be utilized for overall project, which it would include could include a heating system, should the town council also designate that that's part of the project, is the heating system. So it could be done. And it doesn't have to be expended until December 31st of 2026.
Okay, because there was something about a December.
It had to be debt, had to be allocated.
Okay.
Had to be allocated, which has occurred. So that is an opportunity or an option for consideration.
Now,
Yeah, go ahead.
I have one question. How would this affect, if any, the amount that was approved not to exceed?
That's what I was just gonna ask, yes.
This is a separate allocation of capital available funds.
Okay.
It doesn't impact that debt service capital, that approval from the debt service perspective. It doesn't impact that. This is an additional capital source that you're allocating funds to.
Yeah, and it wasn't part of the original project.
Correct.
So in a
Correct.
sense, it's a separate project, just happens to be in the same building we're already working on.
Correct.
Okay.
Or make the wording the right way, so, that's, I don't wanna exceed something, but to make it whatever we have to do. But they're working on that at the next meeting to come up with numbers?
Tomorrow.
Is that?
It's being presented to them tomorrow night. So it might show up on your next week's council meeting.
I wouldn't mind that, I mean.
If they have it. If not,
No,
then you're
how do
probably
we-
looking at April. But they're really been diligently trying to get through this. And I know that they understand the time crunch and pressures around it. So,
Is there a, the new heating system would be more timely than the auditorium, is that how, is that?
What do you mean more timely?
To me, to be done, the time constraint to get it done, the heating system would need to be done more quickly than if the auditorium were,
I think he's talking about because of use of the building.
well.
Yeah, so they kind of, you need to have a heating system, a functioning and operational heating system that is efficient, is beneficial to the entire utilization,
Yes.
not
Oh,
just the
yes.
auditorium.
No, I'm saying,
And so, yes, that I think ranks as a higher level of priority. That being said, I don't know that the town would be embracing the idea of moving the community center over to Westfield Avenue without having a functioning and usable auditorium theater space, given how successful
all right.
our theater
Yes,
program
yes.
is, right?
That's where I'm kinda
You're not
going with
gonna
that.
not have a home for them. And so I think that would go over very sour in the community. So we need to also have that space. That is a critical program space. And, the theater uses it, but, the community center uses that space as well. This is an integral part of the community center program. So that's all part of getting the community center over there.
so that's what I'm looking at, I wanna throw this out there a little bit more, get some exposure that if we have to spend money, Now is the time, allocate the money and get it done, versus trying to push it. I don't want to push it off. That was not my intent, but I guess we'll wait for whatever.
I know the permanent building commission members are always, when this heating system has come up, it's like, well, how's the town council feel? What's their opinion on it? And they're always wondering or asking, would they be in favor of doing that now? And I said, well, that's hard to say till we know where the funding's coming from and how much the actual cost is, because I got the agenda right here, and it says in the back of it that the final amount of, she'll have numbers on stuff tomorrow, it'll be tomorrow night. I'll have a full packet to review and discuss at Wednesday's meeting.
I mean, I'm no expert in construction. However, it just makes more sense to replace something while all the walls are open, we're in the middle of upgrading, then
Right,
waiting
that's-
until it dies
yes,
5
yes.
years down the road. Now we've got to tear it all to new stuff.
And pay more money at that point.
So that's why I brought up Westfield, because you weren't kind of bringing it up. I don't want to put you in a bind, but
The other thing is, when this, correct me if I'm wrong, we're talking about, what, 5 years ago when this project started?
Yeah, so we initially scoped, this project was initially scoped in 2019.
Yeah.
Okay.
Was supposed to go to initial referendum in March of 2020.
Yep.
And
COVID happened.
and then COVID. So it got rescoped in end of 2020, beginning of 2021 was when it got rescoped. And so again, more time has passed. Also, there's been, they also ended up making a decision to fully abate the tunnels. So that way work could happen and we could service the equipment that's down in the tunnels. That's all of your water pipes, not just your steam pipes. It's also all your sanitary lines that are down there. And prior to this, in order to go down there, because it was asbestos down there, there was another level of challenge. You couldn't just send anybody down there to get it done. So it made a lot of the maintenance in those tunnels inaccessible to the average maintenance process. By abating it all, that opened up the availability to be able to work on all of that stuff. But as you go through that process of abating, you're uncovering really old equipment.
Corroded pipes.
Right. Really old equipment. And now you're also jostling things around, which, as we all know, with older pipes, the more you move them around, the grumpier they get, right? Well, they're grumpy right now. And if we're going to address it, we're not going to replace it with a steam system. All that steam piping goes away. It's incredibly inefficient, right? We would be able to move to something way more efficient for the building, and then then you have new equipment in there that will better service the facility from a heat perspective. It's not addressing the air conditioning on the second floor. I want to be completely honest with all of that. That's not addressing the air conditioning on the second floor. That's a separate, we're really looking at mini splits for that. That's a separate investment. The Board of Education is getting ready to do a different program up there. That is something but that is less invasive than a replacement of the heating system. Mini splits, the addition of mini splits in those rooms are very minimally invasive to the process, and fairly easy to install. And that's largely what's going to be in all the other spaces. So it makes sense to address the heating system on a very corporate level.
So if we can get something on next week's, hopefully.
I'm working on it.
We can get.
Permanent Building Commission is working on it.
So, whatever. Okay, no, if it's not brought out, we're not gonna move on it. So I want other people to look at this and say, okay, we're spending more money, but we gotta do it now. I wanna get it going. And I wanna be out there that I'm for it.
Either way, it's a revenue generator. If we don't have heat, we don't function.
Well-
You lose revenue. If we have heat and we don't have an auditorium, you're losing a lot of revenue.
We need it all going, but it's.
Correct.
How do you I've been through a supplemental appropriation from the fund, and I hate to, we gotta make something work. So,
You know, something just popped in, speaking of revenue generating, you didn't talk about all your summer camps, your sport camps that we have. I mean, those have been incredible. I mean, those are servicing not just Killenly, those are bringing kids in from other towns.
Yeah, we have a lot of programs. I mean, if you actually look at our booklet, the 3 booklets that we put out every year, if you add all those programs up, a lot of them aren't repetitive. There's something going on different in every season, whether it's special events, theater, exercise class, whatever it is. There's a lot, and yes, I think moving over there is going to help generate a lot more revenue, and you'll start to see that as we establish ourselves over there. That auditorium is going to be big. Now, with that said, there are other projects when we get in there we're going to have to do. There is no money set aside for the gymnasium, very little, okay? But those scoreboards have been destroyed, okay? Those need to be replaced. The padding is ripped along the gym. There's 64 pads. I forget how many on each side. Those have to be replaced. We're utilizing our own baskets from KCC on one section to put in because we need them to drop to 8.5 foot for the little kids. We're doing that in-house to save money. The other set of baskets, the middle set's going to stay. The other set of baskets we need to replace. They're like 10 or 12,000 per basket. That's,
No, I think
there's
we
a
need to
lot
bring
of
that
things.
forward, yes.
Yeah, there's a lot of things
Right,
that aren't in this. Were never in this project.
Yep.
The cafeteria, the kitchen itself needs work. For us to be able to function, we need functioning equipment in there. We do breakfast with Santa. That's where it's going to be held. Would be in that cafeteria. So we need a functioning cafeteria in order to continue with programs. Those are things we've got to look at, and you go, oh, what are you going to do? We need to get that in by next Christmas because that's when that's going to happen.
So hopefully they're working on that for tomorrow's meeting, or some of this is in addition to tomorrow's meeting.
I'm going to call you on Thursday. Have the answer ready.
So when they ask, is the town council really interested in getting this building going, you can tell them.
You can tell them Ed is.
It is.
Oh, I want some support on that too. But that's why I brought it up. I think if it wasn't brought up, I'll take heat in whatever it is, if the public says it's too much, but I think we have to do it now. And we're gonna have a great facility over there. But if we leave some of this out, it's not gonna be good.
So can you just go down all the different sport camps, just so in case somebody's listening, then this is all for like school age?
Yeah, so in just high school, so we do in the wintertime, we do a baseball and a softball that goes on through the winter at the high school. In the summer, we do we've done a volleyball camp. The football camp is huge. Over 65 kids, I think, last year participated in the football camp. And those are all revenue generators, as Tammy said. So that's in the budget already. Golf is another one. And we've actually had requests, and as long as they request before I put my budget in, we've had requests for soccer camps. We've had requests for lacrosse. Field hockey, girls field hockey has requested to do camps. In fact, they're doing one. We just posted on, we're doing one for free just to try to get kids interested, girls in field hockey. So, yeah, those are just some of the programs. We do the Big Red basketball camp, another generator, revenue generator. We do that in June. So there is a whole list. I'm pretty sure you guys get a copy of the revenue list of what we. But I'll be honest with you. Other than summer camp, one of the biggest revenue generators is sitting right here, the theater, the ticket sales
That's,
for
yes,
theater.
that's,
That's why that theater is so important
yes.
to
yes.
get up and running. Because once we get that theater up and running, it's not just, the shows that Holly's doing, it's the winter concerts we can do, it's the dance recitals if someone wants to come in and rent that building. That's why you're going to see at some point, potentially down the road, a type of theater director who handles all of that type of booking. It won't be in there this year, but at some point we're going to need, because that's going to be all year long. And then the other thing is you'll never have a summer concert canceled for rain, because now you just move it right over to Westfield.
So, I know you guys got nominated for your little theater. How'd you?
We were nominated for Best Small Musical Theater. I was nominated for Best Director. Willy Wonka was nominated for Best Musical and Best Choreography and Best Set Design.
Did you hear anything? Or?
They haven't announced. The voting has closed, but they haven't announced the winner. So. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, fingers are crossed. Bring another star for Killingly on the map.
Well, and it's funny you say that, because we're one of the only town, other than Putnam, okay, we're one of the only towns that has that kind of variety in our programming. Not too many towns do theater. So we're really lucky. And, that goes all the way back to Rich Calarco, who was very instrumental in making that happen with the Little Theater on Broad Street. So, I mean, it's a great thing, and it's a great community thing. You know how many children have been involved in that. And in fact, I've talked to Holly about this. I'm thinking that when we finally close, we should have a little ceremony in the Little Theater and have a lot of those people come back. Because I've seen some of those people that have been in the theater are not in it anymore. One name that comes to mind, Jim Weigels, who's doing he did so many shows there. And so I'm sure a lot of those people would like to get up, say a few words before we shut those lights for the final time. We'd like to do something like that. And then obviously, do a nice ribbon cutting and an open house when we get over to Westfield. So.
Now, the capacity, am I wrong, is it 1,000?
900. 900 seats compared to 225.
Yes, big difference, yes.
That's just gonna blow up.
So, yeah, but again, and I've said this to Mary as she looks at me when I'm presenting my budget, in order to fill those seats, we have to expand not so much staff. Yes, we'd like to do that too. We always want to do that, but we need to expand advertising. We have to reach out. If we're selling out some shows, but that's 225. 225 and a 900 seat
Yes, big difference.
is a huge difference. So we need to, television ads, other newspapers.
You need to expand your reach.
And I don't know if you know what an ad costs just in the Turnpike buyer. It's ridiculous.
Yes, I do.
So,
Unfortunately.
yes, so
But
there's
at
a
the
lot.
same time, the revenue generated
Revenue
offsets
generated,
that,
correct.
right? You know what I mean? There's
Right.
you're bringing in 900 ticket sales versus 225, right?
I
And right
guess-
now, they're currently a revenue generator.
Right.
I guess it's a good thing there's that billboard on the side of 395.
We're on it.
We're on it. We are on
And
that
soon to be another
one.
one on the other side.
I know.
No, actually, same side, but two sides. Yeah, it's a dual side sign.
So I've got a question. So I'm trying to absorb everything you guys are saying. So the heat, you're trying to get things for tomorrow to speed it up, to possibly have this winter in a multi-use building. Now, all of the other things, the lighting, the stage, or whatever, that's something totally separate, right? Is there a deadline for you guys to get out of the building you're in now?
No.
Okay, so we're really just saying, how do we feel about the heating system tonight?
Well, right now, being able to do the heating system, because they're still under a pretty active renovation phase with phase 2. We have a lot of walls opened up, we have a lot of floors opened up, that kind of stuff. Now's the time to do the heating. If you can progress that forward, then that's where that's going to go. The lighting and all that kind of stuff, that project, we're already underway with that component. That
so
doesn't need additional funding.
Theoretically, we could do the heating system, get it ready and have the multi-use, and then maybe they're not in there in the fall, but they're in the next year. Because they have to do all the other things, right?
Right. So I suspect that they will likely not be moving in until the fall anyway. I think the heating system may take a little bit longer, so maybe you push them out to start of January, right? So really, you guys are going to be the project is going to really drive when that actual move takes place for the community center, and what does it make sense for the programming to be able to function appropriately over there. There's no deadline of getting out of the existing space.
I will say, though, again, we talked about costs, right? So let's take theater, for example. The rights to shows. So the rights to a show in a $225 seat arena is way less than the rights to that same show in a 900 seat. So again, there's more revenue, more cost. So I hope when you see those things, you understand that's why that cost had gone up. And we've already talked about, our hope is that our Christmas show will be the first show that happens in Westfield. I don't know if that'll happen, but that's what we're hoping. In order to combat that, right now we're actually asking for rights for 2 different shows. One smaller show that might have to happen at the community center where we're at, or a bigger show that could happen at Westfield depending on when we move. So we are preparing for that.
So all of those other things, besides the heating system, which we're talking about maybe changing the ARPA funds away from the thing, that would be in your July budget?
No, that's already within the capital improvement
Oh, it's
plan.
already there.
It's already there. You don't
Okay.
have to worry about finding additional funds
Okay.
for that. That's already there.
Okay.
The
Yes,
only thing that's
getting
not
it
funded
done.
is the heating system, or not fully funded is
Yeah,
the
I mean,
heating
that-
system.
that
So we
sounds like a
need to
good thing
fund
to
the
me.
heating system in this current fiscal year. That's where the big,
Yes.
if it was budget,
Which-
if we could work it in the budget and delay it, but that won't work with
Correct.
this scenario. Okay,
Correct.
that's what I need to. Well, let's hope that they have adequate information so that we can have it on our agenda next week. I'm optimistic.
So like Holly said, while it's all opened up, it makes sense. But we were also talking in the economic development meeting, and luckily she locked in, but the cost of metal and aluminum and everything is going really high right now. And Jill was talking about the cost of all the metal for the Brickyard, all the projects back, the sculptures and the arch or whatever, the gates. And with the tariffs happening right now with Canada, had she not locked in her order this week? 25% increase in the cost of the metal. So it was a $67,000 increase we would have been looking at for that project. So never mind like what's happening in 5 years on cost of these things, but right now. So it's best to get it done now if we have the funding available.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other comments? Do you have anything further for us?
No, I think we're all set.
All right. Well, thank you for coming this evening.
Thank you.
We'll now move on to the agenda. We have nothing for executive session, so I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion was made by Mr. Grandelsky, seconded by Ms. Barclay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? This meeting is adjourned.